Okay. I guess that there appears to be a distortive sonic malware. Here's a good song. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop it there. Welcome to the Spring Break Marathon. And I want to thank all of my guests for being here today. This is going to be a pretty exciting show. And those of you who are turned in, audio problems. Oh, okay. And I'm going to add not exciting show. And how is there no sound? We don't hear your song. Problems. Oh, okay. And I'm going to add. Did you guys not hear that song at all? And how is there no sound? We don't hear your song. Okay. Somebody needs to put their make sure that you mute your mics because I'm getting some feedback here. And also,
right.
Let me put my earphones in. Seems to be working now. Truly psychedelic. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it is. All right, you guys. This is my spring break marathon show. Gosh, I'm so bummed. Hey, Jason America! Yay! You know what? I could add I'm gonna maybe Jason America. I've got a lot of, well, I guess I can, if you want to join, Jason, you're welcome to come join me. I can just put a link in the chat for anybody who might want to come along here. All right. Well, you know what? I really hope that that you guys got to hear music and not just watch me dance around, doing whatever. No, you didn't hear the music? No music?
Nothing. No music.
Oh my God, that's so sad that actually happened. And now I'm just you're just gonna see 5 minutes of me doing anything. I'm on the way
that strange guy in the white shirt?
Oh, I don't know. Okay, the strange guy in the Ben.
Ben,
a strange guy.
Know who I am?
You are, aren't you? You're him.
I'm the man who's going to tear off your arms and legs. Know what I mean?
Oh my God!
Hi, Ben.
You've grown your hair, Charles.
Yeah, you got hair too.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that.
I thought for the longest time that Ben was actually Charles. I was confused with stuff. I swear to God, you guys really had me going there. Okay, so. Right. We've got Nate Gray is here today from ypxnews.com. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yes, ypxnews.com and supersoldierforum.com. So and I have an album you can listen to. And you can learn more about that at queenpoodle.com.
So the album that we can listen to, is it uploaded on Spotify?
Yeah, it's on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, well, you know what? Maybe we'll go ahead and play it today. Should we play a song during the show?
If you want to, sure.
Oh, all right. Since I did a musical interlude, that was actually, you know what I was playing to? Maybe I'll just add it one more time. It was Let's Get It Started by Black Eyed Peas, and I go, oh, this is the perfect song to start off a spring break. I know it's really old school, but anyway. Okay, and we also have the Swami from El Monte with Cookie the Psychic Dog, and in just a moment we are going to get a reading. I'm going to have a reading from Cookie, and so we're going to bring on the Swami here in just a moment. We've got Not Charles. It's not Charles from, everybody's familiar with Charles from Project Camelot and Charles Unleashed on his channel. This is not Charles. Not Charles actually has hair, but I got to be careful about doing bald jokes because everybody's really sensitive to that lately. And then we also have Rusty Diamond from, now are you in Minneapolis now? Where are you at?
I am in South Central Salt Lake City.
Oh, God, I'm so off the mark.
I was in Minneapolis for a while. I was in Minneapolis, and then I was in Spamtown, USA, and now I'm in Salt Lake City.
So now Rusty Diamond's a comedian, and also you have a wrestling past.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still actually kind of involved. I busted my knee 4 or 5 years ago, but I'm still doing whatever. I'm getting back a little bit. I had a magical medication that worked for me that got me feeling good again, and so I am awesome now. And yeah, I'm gonna maybe get back in, have maybe one run left in me until I'm done.
Okay, magical medication. What would that? Can you say what that is? I'm just curious about the medical.
So for like, I don't know, 6-7 years, I didn't partake in any smoking of weed. And I started smoking again, and boom, my knee just felt great, and I'm back on the road. Like, I was laid out for probably 2-3 years, just, couldn't do shit. I could barely walk, I was sitting on a couch. I couldn't drive more than 30 minutes. And yeah, now I'm great now. So,
it's wonderful.
yeah,
I really right now am into doing the oil, the RSO oil, just like taking a little bit of oil every day,
Yeah.
and I swear I've been feeling better. Like it's like, and Rick Simpson, one time I did an interview with him, Rick Simpson, and he even mentioned that using RSO oil, some people don't like it to be called that, the decarboxylated form of it, oil, is a preventative, can be a preventative against cancer. I got to be careful about saying that, but it's Jason America knows and everything like that. Like, I'd done a lot of different interviews with people who had gone into remission when they had stage 4 cancer by using the oil. And I'm not saying anything, I don't want to like tout anything fake to anybody, but I take it, and sometimes like it's the only thing that makes my joints like, I'm getting older, right? I'm older and in college, and so it's like, so I take a little oil and I just a little tiny bit, and it works really good. So I'm a believer in it. So
That's
Ben is here. He has a YouTube channel, and tell us a little bit about your channel and where people can find you, and what's been going on with you, Ben.
Oh, yeah, it's great to be on the show with you, Tere. I've been watching your channel for quite a while. Ben the JrPorter is the name of my channel. I'm actually a former hospital porter. I was actually did 23 years service at the John Radcliffe in Oxford, Delivery Suite, Theatres, A&E, and General Lodge. And there was a guy over in the United States actually called Jack McGlam. He's passed away now, and he had a group called Police Against the New World Order. So I thought, what's good for police is good for hospital porters. So I started my website, which is called Hospital Porters Against the New World Order. And there's a blog there and things like that. I've also written some books as well about this sort of thing, kind of things you talk about on this show. So I'm pretty much all in. It's pretty much my whole life, really, what I do now.
Well, thank you for being here, and because it's the first time you've been on my channel, and so welcome. I love the fact that we have people from the UK, from the United States, and so see, somebody just said something here. Let me see. I was talking with a guy who looks after racehorses, and he said turmeric and black pepper plus devil's claw are excellent for muscle inflammation. Well, thank you. That's good information to hear. I've heard of turmeric a lot, but I didn't know about black pepper. But I take turmeric sometimes for different things. It's good for. Turmeric has also antibiotic properties as well. So just even like boosting your immune system with turmeric is really good as well. Okay, so and let's talk to Not Charles for a bit. Not Charles, can you give us your background a little bit?
I'm unmuted now, am I?
Yes, you are unmuted.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Well, that's very interesting. You should say that, because I am currently looking after a relative who's recently been diagnosed with the cancer.
Oh, okay.
And is about to go through radiotherapy. So I'm kind of frazzled. That's why I've been between the ponds for so long, right? But it's you said turmeric and what?
He said turmeric, black
Devil's
pepper,
claw.
and devil's claw.
I'm not sure what devil's claw is, but black pepper is the activator for the turmeric. It helps it a lot. Really get it to work.
It's a recent diagnosis within the last month, right? So I've had to jet back here, and I'm all frazzled and jet lagged and all that. So yeah, so what I'm doing over on the Tere channel, I actually got to you by proxy through Ben, because you call him Ben Emily. Ben Emily. He's not called
I
Ben
did.
Emily.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought that. How did I get Ben Emily into my head?
I've been called worse things, Terry. Don't worry, I've been called really bad things. But it's,
by me.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes by Charles, but much worse things by other people. You actually covered. It was. I think you were talking about an article I wrote about. It was about the Awakening of 12 Strands movie. I did a review of it, and
yes,
you covered that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did at that time, and boy, that's a whole nother. That's taking it a year back, right? I think that was like around a year and a half ago. I was looking into the Sandra DeRoy was doing a lot of things about Max at that time.
She invited me to the premiere. She did a big screen premiere of the film, and she invited me along, and it was a good evening. We went to a little cinema in London where she'd set up a screening of it.
I really want to go to London someday.
I've always show you around.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's in love with you.
Oh.
You told me so yourself, Dan.
That was supposed to be our secret, Charles.
Well,
he has so many women that they fall over him.
Well, I guess I should add this. The whole point about this show is I'm kind of doing like sort of a quasi fundraiser for the Terry Joyce College Fund. And, so here are the different places that you could donate to support me. I am a stand-up comedian. I haven't retired. As a matter of fact, I am on spring break, and I was thinking about going to a local open mic night here nearby and do some stand-up that you don't have to have that to do, because part of my employment is that problem, and I'm not. So I'm trying to talk in code right now, and hopefully you don't hate me for not being. But some of the clubs that you see open are requiring it, and or even jobs. I even was possibly going to go back to work at a regional dinner theater that I had started at. My first job was that ever, and I can't work there because you have to be fully. I have a religious exemption to go to school, and most of my school classes are online. However, I am required. I'm in a program that subsidizes where I'm at. I'm a journalism, a media, and film major. And I'm bringing this up because I'm intending to go to the university here. And they have a student exchange program. So I've kind of wondered if maybe I could study journalism abroad, and my target place to go to would be England. It would be the UK. If that was ever a possibility, I would love to come over and spend a semester or a year in the UK and study and go to school and study film and everything. So, but if you do, Kevin Moore is here. Wow.
That's
okay.
Easy. All you have to do is marry Ben.
And all I have to do, hey, you know what? Can I marry you, Ben? And then maybe we could be legal, So, but yeah.
You've got to pay for the wedding, Terry. All right, you've got to pay for the wedding.
Okay, I could do a fundraiser for the wedding. So I'm gonna put I forgot to add my Patreon. I'll put it in the chat here, but my Patreon is patreon.com/notmyrabbithole. And I'm gonna add Kevin Moore to the stream too. So just let everybody know Kevin is here, and I'm very excited. Okay, so let's add. Hi, Kevin. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Terry. Yep. No, it's great to be here. Hey, everyone. Nice to meet you all. And to show you some support for the fundraiser that they're doing, absolutely. So because you're at university, aren't you? That's where you're.
I'm actually right now.
University?
I'm intending to transfer to the university. I'm in a city college
Okay.
at the
Oh,
moment.
yeah.
But I have, if I'm diligent, and I go to summer school, I could get enough units and get my AA in journalism, where I would transfer to the university for 2 years to get the journalism media film degree. So that's basically the plan there. And I just figured I would rather this be my like part-time job, where I do some material. Like my goal is to live stream at least once a week, upload to my Anchor, which goes to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which is a little bit different. Sometimes I re-upload things from here, but I also sometimes just do like a 30-minute rant, or talk on a topic. And so it's got a little bit of a different thing going on. And I have a blog that I'm intending to get back onto again, which is at notmyrabbithole.com. And I have the opportunity, I've talked to my journalism professor on this, to actually work on an essay or an article about a topic that she suggests that I try to submit to. She gave me a big green light on the topic, and she said, you should try to submit that to like BuzzFeed or Huffington Post. So I want to start to like really write things. I wouldn't mind writing a book, a screen. I have the first act of my screenplay, which is about cloning, by the way.
Right, okay.
Sci-fi. So it's kind of like right up in the alley of all this stuff, really,
Yeah. Oh, no, you should. I mean, if you feel inspired to do a book, I say that to anyone. Absolutely, you should do. Yeah. Well, I think it's great what you're doing. I think it's great that you've gone to university and, it's just, I'm sure, it's opening your eyes to so many things and doors as well. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it really opens you up in terms of just what, there were a lot of things I needed to learn still in terms of, being objective, how to bullet point something, persuasion. I'm taking a persuasion speech class, all these different, people say, oh, I can just type out a screenplay, but there's a definite format to like sell your script. There's different, there's just things that are important to know. Okay, because I don't want to keep them waiting too long. I do want to start with some fun today. We do have a guest, Swami, the Swami from Monte. Is here, and with Cookie the psychic dog. She's a very special dog, and we're going to get a psychic reading from Cookie. So I'd like to welcome Swami from the Swami from Monte. Welcome to Not My Rabbit Hole.
Are we on now?
You are on.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, Cookie is given to me when I went to Tibet about 15 years ago. And she amazes me, the things that she can do. For instance, we're going to test the audience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. No extra cards. Now, what I'm going to do is, I just showed you the back of them. In a moment, I'm going to show you the fronts. When I do, Cookie is going to choose one of the 5 cards. These are the cards. I want everybody to choose one card. Only one, because we don't want to confuse the mind of Cookie. We got this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one. Okay? Just focus on one. Now, Cookie.
Okay, just one more thing. Can you bring them a little closer to the camera? Because hold the cards up, because I can't focus on anything yet. Can you hold the cards up?
Yeah, I've got to. We're not.
Okay, so I need to focus on one of these cards.
I forgot about that. Okay, so how the hell are you doing? I've never done this way before.
Oh, it looks good. I can see it now. Okay, so there's a queen, a king. I think there's something else. Is that a number card, a queen, and a jack? Okay, so I'm supposed to focus on one of those cards, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. I focused on one of them.
Oh my God! I think I might have shown up already. Okay.
I got the focus.
Pick a card here, quick. Cookie. This thing on, okay? Which one do you want? Okay, Cookie one. This one right here. Which one? This one? Okay. Okay, Cookie is settled on one card.
Okay.
Now, we've got 4 cards left.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what card anybody has chosen. Nobody does. Nobody has said any card. So now we have 4 cards left. We took 1 card out. If you do not see your card, would you please raise your hand? Let's see how many of your card did Cookie get right. Did anybody, if you do not see your card, did Cookie would have got your card? Okay.
I have to say, I don't see my card. I don't see my card. No, I don't see my card. I don't see my card.
Okay. Well, then,
I
Cookie,
don't remember.
your card.
I don't remember.
What's that?
Rusty doesn't remember his card.
Okay.
And that was Nate.
Oh, Nate doesn't remember. I'm sorry. Nate doesn't remember his card. I was going to blame Rusty. I go, maybe Rusty smoked some, but no, it's Nate. So I know he didn't.
People that don't play cards usually can't remember. Was that a heart or was that a diamond?
Do you play cards, Nate? Do you play cards?
Do I?
I'm
No,
a little
Nate.
out of it. I took some migraine meds today.
Oh, okay.
I have a
So
headache.
that's all right. He's got migraine meds.
I was
Yeah.
set up because my card was cross-dressing.
It's 4. I think
It
that's
was the king of clubs.
dog, don't you? Isn't that pretty good? Dog? No.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Now we also have something else here, which I think
3 of us chose it, didn't we? 4 of us
Wait.
chose that one card.
Did you choose the Queen of Hearts?
The king of clubs.
Is the King of Clubs missing? Because I thought I chose the Queen of Hearts. Was there not a Queen of Hearts there?
There was.
There was, right? I thought.
The king of
Okay.
clubs is missing. The dog.
I wanted to be
Cookie
Alice
chose
in
that one.
Wonderland. I was going to go with
well,
Queen of Hearts.
if you talk about it too much amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Get a clue to how Cookie did it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Best we don't have you talking too much. Okay. Now,
All right.
I got this little whiteboard here. Now, I need 3 numbers. You give me, and I'm going to write them down. Now, can you write down? Just give me a single-digit number. Terry, give me 1 number.
3.
You 3?
Yeah.
What'd you say? 3?
Yes.
Okay, so you got a 3. And Nate, another single-digit number.
8.
8. And Rusty, 1 more single-digit number.
How about a 5?
5. Okay, so now we have 3 people choosing 385. Yeah, I know. Okay, I forgot to show them. Okay, Cookie. Cookie's upset. I forgot to show them that she has a prediction. We're going to set the prediction right. Shut up. Here. Okay. Because there, we don't want to be. Can you see that? Wait. Yeah, you can see it's still sitting there.
Uh-huh.
Prediction on. Okay, now. Okay, we're falling apart here. All right, now, if I had no idea, nobody would have any idea that somebody was going to choose this sequence of numbers. Nobody. Exactly. And there's no way Cookie could have known this. But there is a prediction inside this envelope. I should put this a little bit higher so that way I don't want anybody to think that
So she predicted this earlier today that this is what we were going to choose.
Okay, now, what we're going to do is we're going to confuse the issue. I want to get this where you can see it. I don't want you to think we're cheating. We don't cheat. Okay. Now, I'm now going to reverse these numbers. So you have, well, this is really difficult working this camera like this. 385. So now we have 583. Now we're going to do something else to confuse it even more. I'm going to subtract 385. 13 take away 5 is, what is that, 8?
Yes.
Okay. So now this had to be a 7. So 17 take away 8 is
9.
9. Okay. And then this became a 4. 4 take away 3 is 1. Correct?
Yep.
Now, we come up with the number 198. If any one of these numbers had been different, this number would have been different. Correct? Agreed?
Right.
We're going to take this one step further. 891. We're going to reverse them again. And this time, we'll add them. More confusion. 8 and 1 is 9. 9 and 9 is 18. 8 carry 1. 8 and 1 is 9. And 1 is 10. So we came up with 1,089. Had any one of these numbers been different, this total would have been different. Okay. This is Cookie. She's barking. This is her big finish. Okay. This has been sitting there the whole time. Inside is a prediction. That prediction is 6801. But if we reverse it, it becomes 1,089.
Oh.
Wow. Yay.
Howdy. That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Wow.
Ready to bow before Cookie. I'm ready to tell our great dog we're not worthy of being in your presence. We certainly should be. But I don't think you people are totally convinced. So
Can I ask a question, Swami? May I ask you a question? How exactly?
Kev, have we ever met before?
Ben has a question for you.
I just wanted to ask, how does Cookie make the selection? Presumably she can't write, so how does she choose the numbers?
What? Kev. I don't think he does. He looks very happy. I'm not going to disturb him. We'll go right over here to not Charles. Okay, we don't know who he is, but we know for sure he's not Charles. Now, Charles, have we ever met before?
Not like this, no.
An envelope. What? Okay, this is Cookie's other prediction. Now, Charles.
Yeah.
We're going to send you a vision of the contents of this envelope. Are you ready?
Okay.
We'll give it a little.
Time to look at gangster powers, Charles.
Not Charles. Give us an honest yes or an honest no. Did you receive the message? Yes or no?
I got it right here.
Yes or no?
That's a yes.
A yes. That's incredible. That's exactly the message that I sent to him.
Good Lord.
God, this man is.
Thank you. Is that one of those numbers that you can turn over and it looks like a no?
No, I just would have showed the other side of the paper.
Wonderful.
That's great.
You got it right. Thank you. That's good.
You've got a skeptical crowd here.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're all of us are analyzing, how everything works. Like.
Cookie, there's something you'd like to know about. Something like, you got an audit coming up. Are you going to go to jail for a couple of years? Is your girlfriend cheating on you? You got some new material and inspiration. What would you like to know from Cookie now? You've seen her abilities. She can read minds, see the future. She even can fluff auras and heal chakras if she has to. Now, any questions for Cookie?
Does anybody have a question for Cookie? Anybody in the audience have a question for Cookie?
Okay, we'll give her. Let's see what we've got. There's
Anybody in the chat?
her sign. Okay.
Does Terry Joyce really wear a wig?
Ask her.
Do I really wear Cookie? Charles wants to know if I really wear a wig or not.
Oh.
From Cookie, does Cookie know if this is my real hair?
Okay. 2 boards. See, where's that light? Where'd that camera go? My own camera. Okay. And I can. Well, this is a good trial run here of how to use these cameras. Now we got. 2 boards.
Here's a question. We have a question from the audience, from the chat.
Question. Oh, wonderful. What's the question?
Okay. Will disclosure happen this year? And when we talk about disclosure, we're talking about, will we have alien contact in the United States? Will disclosure happen this year?
We've already had alien contact. Oh my God, they've been here a long time. Yeah.
But does Cookie know this? Does Cookie?
No, but I know this. No, this is honest to God truth. Swear to God to this. This is true. When I was 17, I was sleeping in my bedroom, and all of a sudden I heard this scratching at the window, and I opened my eyes, looked up, and there was this thing. It was about 7 feet tall, and it looked like a giant praying mantis. And I just lay there frozen. I was afraid to move, and it looked like it was trying to get in the window, but the windows were all closed, and luckily my mom had locked all the windows. So I just laid there. In the morning when the sun came up, I said, I got to go out and see what the hell that was. Maybe there was some bushes or something making the thing just look like it was there. But there was nothing there. There was no bushes, no plants. There was nothing that could have done it. It just was there. So I never told nobody about this. And then about 15 years ago, there was a lady on George Noory's a talk show, Coast to Coast, and she got and so I called in and I got to talking with her. I didn't tell her what the character looked like. I just told her, she says, there are 2 different kinds. She says, there's they call it the grays, the short ones with the big heads, the classic one. But she said there's all these others that they look like a giant praying mantis. I mean, she told me, she described what I saw. She was one of these investigators. So for me, they're already here. And I think it's kind of ridiculous to think that they couldn't be here. My God, they got billions and billions and billions of stars. I mean, are we the only ones? Are we so egocentric to think that we are the only ones? No. I mean, a little bit of radiation in the right way, the reptiles could have become the superior race, because a lot of those reptiles are pretty damn sharp. In fact,
we know we've really looked into the reptiles, the Swami. As a matter of fact,
even that stuff.
I want to bring pictures of them.
What?
I want. Yeah, we've definitely, like, this whole crowd. We're up on the Lizzies. And by the way, I want to bring Kevin more into the conversation, because Kevin has been doing a lot of research on Project Camelot with Carrie Cassidy and Captain Mark Richards. In terms of your documentary about him and that scam. Can you give us, like, just I think the Swami from Monte doesn't know the background to who Captain Mark Richards is. Can you briefly tell him, like, what that scenario is with Captain Mark Richards?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, Captain Mark Richards. Well, it's Kerry Cassidy's top whistleblower. So I think most people here know who do anyone in this panel? Obviously, Tere does, but
everybody here in the panel, other than Swami,
everyone knows. Okay, okay.
Rusty might not know who he is, but then he might.
Yeah. So Kerry Cassidy, who's the owner and host of Project Camelot. So. I mean, just a couple of years ago, Mark Richards was her top go-to guy. There was no one better than this guy, and it was probably about 3 years ago now when I started looking into the Mark Richards story, and I don't know where to start with it, but I think just to give it a basic overall. Basically, Mark Richards was involved in a murder that took place in 1982 in Marin County. Marin County is a place called San Rafael in Marin County, which is in California, just outside San Francisco. And where we see Captain, well, he's not even a captain. Let's just start at that as well. Okay, I'm calling him Captain Mark Richards. He never even served in the in any in the Army, in the Navy, or in the Air Force. I've done multiple record searches on this guy, and there is nothing there because obviously he's not a captain. I think, but yeah, I think basically, Kerry's take that Mark Richards is innocent. Basically, that he was framed for the murder of a guy called Richard Baldwin, which was Mark's one of his close friends at the time. Mark hired a couple of teenagers at the time who was working with his construction business in Marin County, and there was one of the teenagers was called Crossin Hoover. Crossin had Crossin wasn't in the best of places in life. He had a really difficult childhood and slow learning, all sorts of issues that he had. And on July 2nd, 1982. Mark planned the murder of his good friend Dick Baldwin for money. I think he actually wanted to basically become Richard Baldwin, because Richard Baldwin owned a successful car restoration shop in San Rafael. And when they murdered Richard Baldwin, actually what happened was, if I'm keeping this exciting enough, Mark was stood about 6 feet away from Crossin Hoover when he gave the sign. It was like a signal to the head, and then Crossin Hoover stabbed, batted, and stamped on Richard Baldwin. And then later on, the two young boys, Crossin Hoover and another young kid called Andrew at the time, they took the body on a boat they had brought that day out to the San Pablo Bay, and they dumped the body off at nighttime with a outboard motor weight attached to the body. And then it was a week later when the body resurfaced, and then Mark was arrested along with Crossin Hoover and Andrew Campbell. Andrew Campbell got state testimony, so I think he only served a little bit of time in jail. And then Crossin Hoover and Mark Richards, they've been in jail now for 39 years. Mark got life without the possibility of parole. Mark was also trying to set up a cult at the time called Pendragon. Pendragon was to take over the succession of Marin County away from the state. That got trucked out in court. Basically, there was a number of points, and I won't go into it right now, of what Mark was charged for. And Mark has always stated that he was never with Crossin when the murder took place. But in Mark's police interview in 1982, he admitted in the police interview to disposing of the body, spending of Richard Baldwin's credit cards, and putting debt in, taking out loans in his name over the time when Dick's body was missing, and just a plethora of things as well. And obviously nowadays we've got Mark, who's now married to a lady called Joanne Richards, which is his staunch supporter, who basically it's everyone, it's my job to, she says, to prove that, that he didn't serve in the military, that he was there, that the court case was, against him, blah, blah, blah. Basically, Mark's used Joanne Richards. And she just can't see that right now, how he manipulated these two teenagers back in 1982, and he's just gone and done the same thing with Joanne Richards. And Kerry, well, she calls herself a top investigator, but obviously I think there's a few holes there, if you know what I mean.
Kevin, can I want to ask
basic,
something.
yeah.
I want to ask something about, bring something up about, ask a couple of questions about that particular case. One thing that I find really interesting about it is that he had this whole Camelot thing, that Captain Mark Richards was wanting to bring Camelot to Marin County. He was going to be like the new king, and there was a level of like terrorism behind what happened, and the fact that he was like Manson, like he didn't commit the murder, but he mind controlled and convinced other people to do the murder, and that's the part that's the most diabolical part about it.
He's done the same to Joanne Richards. He's done the same to Kerry Cassidy, but Kerry Cassidy's not the brightest person in the room. Do you know what I mean? And she won't look at the court evidence because she'll say that that the court evidence is doctored. Well, she's just she's insane. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, if you're going to go against court testimony, there's no hope for no one. Do you know what I mean? I've met, and again, Kerry and Joanne will say, well, this matter's not what I'm going to say, but I've met people that were with Mark at the time. I've interviewed Crossing Hoover from prison, right? Joanne Richards won't even take her ass down to the prison to go interview him. Why not? If you're going to marry someone and have that kind of commitment to someone that's in prison, you think you might want to check the story out. But of course, Crossing's just lying, and Mark's the only one that's telling the truth. But the Camelot thing. When I went to Mark's house, when we went to film down there, and I'm going back to film soon as well, some more. I've just got to finish a few bits of stuff off with it, and court. I need to get some more court files as well. But when I went into Mark's neighbours. And they took us to the edge of his property. You can see that there were castles in the back of his garden, and the neighbours were telling me, like, back in the day, when he was a kid, Camelot was everything to him. He adored the whole Camelot, King Arthur, theme and subject and everything. Even one of his bedrooms was covered in Camelot. Stuff by his mum as a kid. He was obsessed with Camelot, and we've actually now read his book. He did a book that they say that the Imperial, that Pendragon, which was the cult that he was part of, was based on. I've read the book Imperial Marin now, and it's tosh. It's just a load of crap, right? It's a terrible read, right? And I would advise no one to buy it, right, unless they really want their
where
brain
can you get it? Is it on Amazon?
Well, no, you can buy it from Joanne Richards, but it just makes no sense. We've actually I don't know anyone that's read it, and I actually read it. Well, it wasn't me.
You actually read it. The way you say it, I actually read it. Like,
yeah, it's been reviewed. It wasn't by me, but I've reviewed it back with the person who reviewed it as well, because it's all been taped as well, the review. And yeah, he was just obsessed with it, and he should have been a science fiction writer like his friends. I mean, I've met his friends that knew him back in the day, friends that were producing films with him. Mark wasn't doing it; his friends were. He was involved in a car ring back in the day. Mark was. He was doing there was a car insurance fraud ring. I've even interviewed the guy that took the slap on the wrist for him. That should have been Mark and this guy, but it was a guy called Mike Peck that took the rap for it in the end. There's so much to this case. I mean, I'm going back to California soon because I've just discovered his habeas corpuses, and they're not available to order, but you can go down to the Superior Court to go and actually copy them. And I need those because I want to know in all his habeas corpuses what BS that he came up with to justify. Well, I think I know what he said, but just for the docu-series, I just wanted to have everything crossed and everything else. So it's going to be a docu-series, but it's going to be more like a podcast docu-series. So if that makes it doesn't. I hope it makes a little bit of sense what I'm trying to say. The podcast docu-series, because I was thinking of use an actor reenactment to come and film some bits of it, but I've just decided in the end, look, just get it out, just finish it off the best you can, and put it out as a docu-series stroke podcast. And if a production company in the future wants to pick up where you left off and actually do a proper professional documentary on it, fine, but that costs shitloads of money. Do you know what I mean? And it's taken mega amounts to me right now, and the loan that I've got for it just to get it where it is. And I'm almost done with it, and I'll be ready to put it to bed soon. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you know, the budget sometimes always increases. Like you start, you go, oh, I could probably do with this amount of money, but then like once you really get into it, you realize that
they cost
it
hundreds
takes
of thousands.
more.
Terry. Yeah, they cost hundreds of thousands, and this has only cost like almost 30,000 almost now, and that's nothing in document. I mean, it's a lot to me, right? But it's maybe not to some other people. But yeah, in documentary world, it you know, to do it professionally, yeah, it takes money. So
Yeah.
Wow.
And where can people find your channel out if they want to follow the podcast?
Well, the podcast, yeah, okay, so I'm changing my channel. So the Kevin Moore Show, which is my YouTube channel, it's all changing soon. I'm becoming the ISNN soon, the International Spiritual News Network. So the Mark Richards docuseries will be going out on the ISNN, which is all the social media platforms I've got right now, but I'm about to change it all, which I'm looking so much forward to having a shift and a change in my life, and to do something different soon. So this will be, I guess, this docuseries will come out. If you just go to the Kevin Moore Show on YouTube, then you follow me on that, and it's going to change names soon. Yeah.
I want to ask another question about the Mark Richards case. I'm trying to remember because like Kevin and I had done it. We did a show, our first time ever doing an interview. We interviewed each other in Altadena, California. I guess maybe that was like almost 2-3 years ago now. At least two years. Yeah. Okay. So. I thought at that time that you said that this was one of the first D&D, Dungeons and Dragons type of cases. Like, were they? Was it associated to Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes. There's so much to this case. I can barely remember it sometimes. I mean, I got to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning because I was working on Mark Richards last night. I'm tired and everything. Of course, though, yes, Dungeons and Dragons. That's a big part of what. That's included in this docuseries. Yes, that was in there. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because
I do have one question, if I may.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, what do the Baldwin family think of all this being dragged up, and how are they involved?
Well, I actually went to Maine to go see Susan Baldwin. I believe she's the only surviving member of the Baldwin family, and it's really weird, right? Obviously, this is my first true crime thing, right? Maybe it will be my last. I don't know. Probably. Who knows, right? And she was so devastated. She was so devastated, that I was there, that it was being talked about again, that there was someone called Kerry Cassidy and Joanne Richards who didn't give a fuck, right, about her brother. And they've called him a pedophile, that Mark Richards says that there was child pornography found around the house. And and that he got what he deserved in a way, and there's nothing she can do about it. He's serving the maximum. I mean, she's reported it all to the DA because she's got close ties with him in California still, right? So she can, I mean, she told me to. I wasn't allowed an interview with her. It was lovely. It was great to see her, right? Just to know that she's real, right? And that, just to be in her presence. But she was devastated. And I think what was difficult.
This, right? It's got her blessing that you're going ahead with.
No.
This.
No. She don't want nothing to do with it. No. She was as upset. It was like being with someone and the murder just happened a few years ago, but it's 39 years ago, right? And I only saw her through the porch door, right? I wasn't allowed in, and that's fine. And I went without permission to go see her. Do you know what I mean? But how was I gonna get? I was pulled to go there. But she did say a few things, and we've got it on tape as well, that she feels that Cross and Hoover should never get out. She feels that both Mark and Crossy are where they deserve to be as a public safety. It was funny because the actual cops that one of the cops that was involved in interviewing Mark back in the day in 1982 and arresting his ass and being part of the case leading up to the discovery of the body to arresting Mark, to even speaking to him now, right? He did say that, Mark is still a dangerous man, because he said what you've got to realize is, if he can influence someone like Kerry, he was going to do this. He influenced Crossy back in the day to kill his best friend, right? And he was like, there's many young men that he'll be surrounded with that are in and out of the system, and he's only got to just tell the wrong one something that, if he's after someone, the wrong thing, and someone might do something stupid. Not that would happen, but as a cop, that's how he thinks, right? Even though he's retired. No, she was. There's no goodness out of this, and I think she would rather us not do it. or she rather wants nothing to do with it. But going back to that statement about Baldwin being a paedophile, I said this to the cop. I was sat with him. I was like, was there any child porn found at the house? He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, do you not think that would have been in the police report? What world do you come from? I was like, oh, a bit of a strange world, actually, right? No, you know, in some respects, when you consider some of the subjects that are out there and what we cover. Yeah, I mean, it's just nonsense. It's just people just protecting what they put time into, and that's what Kerry and Joanne's. I mean, if this goes down like it's going to do, you know, I don't know what it will do for Kerry, maybe nothing, but I don't think it will do anything good for her, and I don't think it will do anything good for Joanne. But I hope for Joanne, it wakes her up to realize you've been lied to, Joanne, all this time. You've been used just like the boys were back in the day. He's a manipulator. How do you feel now? You know, is this your journey of discernment as much as it's anyone else? I think so.
I actually, you know, I know you know this, but I had made some mention about, I had gotten some information about Joanne selling the house or something like that. And it maybe would have symbolized like a while back, and then I got the information wrong. And then Joanne actually made a comment saying, I'm not selling my house, and I'm up in Oregon for a different reason, and blah, 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 blah. Right. And then so I retracted the statement, and I was just kind of surprised that she was even watching what I was saying.
She's watching it all
because watching all this stuff.
She's made a presence in this industry as a speaker at conferences around, you know, around the parts of California and some small parts in the UK, and this has been her best thing that's ever happened to her, because it's given her a life, you know. Not life, it's given her a reason, you know. It's given her some. She's an ex-Mormon. She's been in a cult for a long time, and now she's out, and she's come from one bad husband to another, but these are her choices. This is her journey, and now she's into this all spiritual stuff. She's become, you know, a crone. She's now a witch, but it's Mark who wants her to be a witch.
She's a witch now too.
It's Mark that wants her to do all this, because when you read Pendragon, these women that are in the Pendragon story back in 1982, which was science fiction he wrote in his head, these are all the women he has in these science fiction stories, and he's just brought it to life. He's somehow brought his fantasies to life, and he's found someone that was manipulable, even though, and I would agree with others, and I'm going to say the name Jeff as well, who I originally worked on this with, Jeff Reed, she's no idiot. She's not. And I can say that with quite confidence, actually. Yeah.
Well,
I can say so much. I can say so much more, but I'm like, oh shit, I better not say too much. Yeah.
Okay. You know, I just, the one thing that gets me about all of this is the fact that Project Camelot also is based on Camelot. And then he was based on Camelot. It's just a weird connection there. Like, you know, it's like, is there?
Well, get this. Project Camelot. Basically, when Kerry first, there was a guy called Julian Salt. He's the guy that originally funded this docu-series. He was the one that was big buddies with Mark Richards, and he was the one that was at a conference way back that met Kerry and told Kerry about Mark Richards. That's how she got involved with this Mark Richards story with a guy called Julian Salt. She actually interviewed Julian Salt. Julian Salt was a board member of Joanne Richards' non-for-profit Earth Defense Headquarters, and he was a board member there. And but he is no longer, because he turned against the story when he funded this docu-series to, you know, to show the evidence as it is. So yeah, no, she knew about the story way back, and I think, you know, it's just so easy to see. You know, she's in prison. She's sat next to someone that can just say, that can chameleon and just say, yes, Kerry, or no, you're right, or just he's got this ability to just keep a conversation going with BS. Do you know what I mean? And he's done a lot of research, because his wife Joanne Richards owned a publishing company, and that's how he got the books into the prison, because his wife owned the publishing company, and with a publishing company you can get all the material into prison. You can't do it otherwise. It's all got to come through a recognized publishing company, and that's what he was doing. I mean, and then she used to do all these reports with him and tidy them up and everything else. I think it's interesting for me, because I think it's like almost like it's like a true crime meets the secret space program, and it's about discernment.
Yes.
And
yeah.
And if you're it's so true. If someone's got a large following, you tend to believe them because you think, well, that person or that man or that woman has done the research. There's no way they wouldn't have done. Well, you've heard that you've put the phone call out in previous shows, Tere, with what she has to say. When I spoke to her about initially wanting to do the docuseries back in 3 years ago, and she recorded it, I recorded it. And you should listen back to that. Anyone that's interested
I have
in that.
several times. I just
reviewed it. Yeah.
I even like it. Sometimes I even laugh when I hear it because just some of the ways that if you listen to the phone conversation, the way she's says, have you ever like researched a false flag and all this kind of stuff where she's just sort of tearing you down with things that people get kicked off the internet for. It's like her, whenever somebody can't come back with something, like let's say you have a debate, when they start to like put down the person who you're having the argument with rather than answering the question, that's like, I learned this in college. It's called ad hominem. It's like you poison the well in order to gain a leverage on the argument. Happens all the time. So she's definitely doing that, and she's treating you like she's talking to you like she's the big researcher and you aren't. You're just some sort of amateur that's that can't see or you're not able to believe in something like a secret space program or extraterrestrials. This concept is your block because like you're a normie. Like there's always that argument from the other side. Well, if you don't believe how I'm saying it to you, then obviously you're inept and I'm the person who's the big researcher. Is like I think the kind of attitude that she had in that conversation towards you.
I think one thing it's shown me as well is that there is a place for documentation. There is, and I think if the facts speak loud enough, you've got to look at it. You've got to listen. But live in whatever reality you want to live in. That's fine. But there is a shared reality. I can assure you. And I think it's shaped the way then the things I'm going to do over the next course of my life. I think so. There's so much to this, but I don't want to take up all the space. But yeah, but then I will say
I know you can't be here like the whole time, so I'm giving like I want to give you like a chunk here. I appreciate
that.
Because
I was going to say, Tere, when you look at the rest of the people that she supports as well, and the docuseries is going to touch upon some of those people. Simon Parks is one of them that we've been looking into.
Okay, let's go there for a second. I want to talk about Simon too.
Bill Brockbrader, who you did a show on Even More, and I thought what you did was really good there. And I can't believe that Miles Johnson didn't even bring up about her husband who's wanted for his child molestation case back in the day because he's not registered at the state that he's wherever he was last in, and he's on the friggin' run right now. I mean, anyway, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, none of that has been addressed. Like, and maybe like, hey, who knows if they even hear me here? It's like Miles or, it seems like anything that Miles just completely ignores anything that I say.
I think he listens.
Oh, you do? Okay, I think it's a big deal that Eva went on his show and pretty much did what she did and made her husband sound like he was like doing something special, against John Walsh. And I know that there's something going on between John Walsh and his daughter, Megan, and there's a whole other thing going on there that I've looked into a little bit and addressed, and I'm not discrediting that. But that doesn't gloss up what her own husband's done. It's like two wrongs don't make a right if that's the case. Really, right?
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely not. Yeah. But you was going to say Simon Parks before I button in. Sorry about that. Yeah, Simon,
because Simon is a spur off. Like Simon came. I've tried to trace Simon. I'm thinking Simon came on. There was like a thing that Miles did with UFO experiencers way back in the beginning with a woman named Joanne too. I think her last name started with an S.
I know you.
And they did a show for the BBC. I've watched it on Amazon, where they Maria Kayali came out of that, right? She was part of that documentary. Her daughter died during that time, I think, too. And she was I felt bad for her because I kind of felt like Maria was sort of set up. You know, like, she was saying that she had implants, I think, and that she had alien. She believed that her DNA was alien, and she went through. Then she did a lie detector test, and they kind of dogged her. Like, oh, you failed your test, and blah 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 blah. And I just felt like, even if she is not really an experiencer, I just felt like she got the short end of the stick on that show in how she was treated overall. So I don't know. I mean, that's just my opinion.
So I was just saying in the chat, so I'm a hypnotist, and I work with people who've had encounters and been able to do the regression on them when they're under, to be able to experience the whole event again. And they usually come up with a lot more specific events that have happened within that they totally have forgotten, and just stuff comes in super clear, and it's pretty fascinating, and it's been real helpful for the people that have done it. Scary sometimes for some people, but very, very helpful.
I didn't know you did. I didn't know you did hypnotist. I'm sorry.
I agreed to try it out.
Yeah, there you go. It's pretty cool. It's amazing. It's amazing what the mind can hold on to, and just sitting there. So I mean, that, I don't know. It'd be an interesting thing if she had something like that at the time. But what you gonna do?
Kevin, I want to bring up Simon Parks again a little bit still, because he really is pushing the reptilian draconian theory of what's going on, and claiming of his ET background. And and you know what, it's interesting. I found a guy on the internet on YouTube. I think his name is Bruce Ryan. He was in Vice as one of the targeted individuals. They did a thing on people who believe that they're targeted, and he says that he lives in the LA area, and he says he's targeted because he's talking about reptilians and showing footage and film, and he does all the you look at a movie, Keanu Reeves and this and that, you're looking at them shapeshift, whatever, that's kind of, what I'm talking about. And he brings up in his dialogue all the time, he mentions Simon Parks as being a credible person and talking about the reptilians. And then what's even more interesting to me about the fact that he pushes the reptilian alien agenda, but then he also has co-opted himself to the 17th letter of the alphabet, and is playing around with American politics. And it's weird how I find it, and I don't know if people really are focusing enough on this, the link between the UFO media and the spreading of this right-wing 17th letter of the alphabet agenda, which is really affected American politics. And he's not stopping. Simon Parks and what about those alien and Indian cooking channels that all those cats, Mel K and David's, what's his name, Zagaloff, or all of Zublik, or Michael Jaco, and all of those guys are playing this weird game, and how they collectively are together. What do you have to say about that? I know I rambled on for a long time, but what are your thoughts on that aspect of it?
Well, I mean, my research is still ongoing with Simon Parks, so my focus is totally on Mark right now, that part of the docuseries. But I am restarting my research back into Simon. I got quite far with it, really. I did. Look, that letter of that alphabet, obviously, it brings numbers in, it brings eyeballs, it brings advertisements in a place where they can make money, and it brings larger communities together as well. I'll say this about Simon: his connecting consciousness platform is bigger than you think. It's huge. I have no underestimation about that, right? Because it's this idea of people like-minded wanting to come together, right? I think it started out on the right basis, but you've got a guy in charge that's not who he says he is, suffering from some sort of issues which I'm not clever enough to name or work out. And there's so much. He never addresses anything. He won't address anything. He's very quick to sue right now. Why not? If he can make money, I suppose that's the way he thinks. I wouldn't, but that's his perspective. He's got an ongoing court case in the UK right now, which he's won, as far as I know, and he's just working to get their assets of the people that have lost into his pocket so that he can use it for his organization. So well done. I mean, look, there was a birthday card that he talked about with Miles Johnson, where this birthday card was a picture of him back in the day as a counselor. He was targeted at a local birthday card store. They only had 6 of these birthday cards, and he was targeted to say, look, keep your goddamn mouth shut. Well, when you get the birthday card and you search for that image, I discovered that image was on Getty Images, and I've put this out there in other shows. And I actually spoke to the owner of that image. That is not Simon Parkes. That is a model that was done for a bank, a press release back in the day. And I've got the interview with the photographer and everything else, and it's going to come out for the docuseries. And just a little bit like that, like a birthday card. He won't reply to it. He won't acknowledge it because it's all fake. And if you're going to lie about a birthday card, why not lie and bullshit about everything else, right? And that's exactly what's happened, because it's when he talks about going to the RAF base, well, we're talking to them where he went. He never went on behind no closed doors. They've got him listed as coming in as just a person with the council looking around. No secret stuff, but it was all planned. It's all in the council diaries. It's all BS. I know for some of you it won't make no sense what I'm talking about. It'll make more sense when it's all out. But his story can be traced. It's unfortunate. I don't enjoy doing it, but at the same time, you know what? He went against the Mark Richards story. He actually got himself involved when he did a show back a few years ago to say, well, a piece to camera, where he said he went down to London and he met with an intelligence officer from MI5, and they was given paperwork to show there was credibility in Mark Richards' story. Well, oh dear. You're only talking to the one guy that actually has interviewed everyone that's alive to do with that story, and it's BS. So you lied about that as well. Not looking good, is it? And you've got people, buddy, that love you, that adore you, and you're not well. You're mentally not well, mate, to be doing what you're doing. And it's a shame. And all our discernment, all people that say they love him, because he comes over with this hypnotic, softly spoken voice that's hypnotic, and it gets you drawn in. It's unfortunate, I guess, but it's a lesson into. We should all be a lot more discerning. We know when things don't feel right, because it's like, oh, that just seems a bit far out there. Well, it's far out there because it's not fucking true. That's why. It just gets to me, this stuff, sometimes when people so passionately believe in, and I get it. He's of an age, he's believable, he comes across nice, he's got the English accent. And who's going to go behind the story and look at it? Obviously, an idiot like me will. Because I've got nothing better to do, I guess. Well, I do, but I'm going to finish this off and do my best with it. And it's just, So you could say that Project Camelot, who is telling the truth on there? I don't know. Not many.
Yeah, and what gets me is this, like, we call ourselves the truth media. This is a truth media, but you're like, okay, so who's telling the truth? And what is the truth in all of this? And I want to point out, Nate, Holly Baglio says hi. I don't know if you see that. She's in the chat. So she's giving, Holly Baglio is also another experiencer and super soldier. She's been on my shows. We've done interviews several times, and I've interviewed Nate. So what part, like Kevin, let me ask you something, and I'll ask everybody here too. Do you, I mean, I know that you're doing due diligence, and looking into, just like I am too, into like who's phony and who's real in the information. But do you think that extraterrestrials and that are real? Are they real from other planets, or do you think that they are interdimensional beings, or what, both?
I don't know is the answer, right? Do I believe that there's something in that realm? Absolutely, I do. Yeah, absolutely. Is it going to pay the bills? No. Is it going to sort my relationship issues out? No, I've got to do that. We get so lost, don't we, on what's up there or what's up, but we, my thing is, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? But I do find it. In fact, I'm not saying we shouldn't look into it. Of course, we should do, right? But what's real or not? Well, yes, of course. I mean, look at Roswell. I mean, I know people will poo-poo that, but there's, it's a fascinating case. There's many fascinating cases. And I'm sure people have contact, how can you tell anyone else that you've had contact unless you've had that experience? It's too much out of perception or reality, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? To understand that type of contact. And I'm sure there's a lot of cases out there as well, which are not true. But I think you've just got to discern, and just do your best on what, does it stand up?
Yeah, I think that there's something going on. I'm not sure what it is exactly. There's definitely in our culture, it seems like a lot of our media and film and television is like almost primed us. Recently I just saw on Stephen Campion's show, Truth Seekers, he interviewed Whitley Strieber,
yes.
which wrote the book Communion, and his experience. And the thing that I found interesting about that was Whitley it seemed like every time someone made contact with him, he was meditating. And I'm like, is there a key to the meditation thing? It seemed like, maybe not all the times, but it seems like, oh, so-and-so came in and started talking to me because, what was going on. But there's definitely something happening in our world, just even when you look at what's happening politically, like there's and the UFO disclosure or the topic of UFOs is very much playing a part in a way that I'm not sure the entire population understands. Like you go, well, what are we like? I ask myself, I go, what am I doing here? Like, this was not where I started at as an entertainer or whatever. So I'm like, what am I doing here? But I'm interested because I got curious about something, and then to see how it's really playing out. Because if there is disclosure in a sense, like, let's say someone like a race of beings comes forward and go, oh, we're from another planet and we're here now. And then they do start, because there's this whole new age kind of like spirituality that comes with the concepts of UFOs. And it is juxtaposition from what we read in the Bible and from what other religions are. So looking at something that, we're not expecting, how are people going to be affected by that if that happens? Like there's something.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, that's why in our lifetime it may never happen, because I tend to think if you're not just technologically advanced, I'd hope you'd be spiritually advanced, right? And maybe if you are spiritually advanced, we are not at that stage of intervention, are we? We are not ready for it. I mean, we're just going to bow down as though it's another religion, isn't it? Another God. We don't need any more religions of gods. I'm sure we don't, right? We've got enough. I think we've got to get to a level, a consciousness level, where there's more love in the world, right? I mean, look what's going on in the world right now. Where is the love? Where is the love?
That's right? Another Black Eyed Peas song. I should play that later.
Absolutely.
Because where is the love? I want to ask Not Charles a question on the panel. Now, what are your thoughts on let's say the reptilian race? Because I feel like, because there is you mentioned that there is a book, it's a science fiction book. One of the arguments that problems I have with the extraterrestrials, what do you call it? The Nazis making contact with extraterrestrials is that I found a book that was written in the 1800s, the late 1800s, about the inner Earth and the real powers called the power of the coming race, that kind of set up the whole, like it was pre Maria, pre-real society, Thule society. And yet it was a science fiction piece beforehand. And you say that there was a piece that was written about reptilians, and I've gotten the feeling that you think the philosophy of that is that it was, again, it's a science fiction piece, and that the reptilian race isn't real. What do you, am I wrong on that? Not Charles?
Well, I've been listening to you. There's a number of things come up there. There's persecuted individuals, there's politics, and there's the whole UFO thing. And I dragged this out. It actually goes back to 1795. This is a reprint this was reprinted in 1959. It's a study by a guy who was called John Halsam. Picture of him there. Now, he was a doctor at Bethlehem Hospital in London, and the study is about a guy called James Matthews. Now, Matthews was a wealthy merchant who had come back from France and for some reason burst into Parliament waving a pistol, claiming the Prime Minister had been replaced by a duplicate, a clone, if you will. Now, he was arrested and interred at Bethlehem Hospital. Now, because the UK has a class system, not a democracy as America understands it, he didn't get put in a padded room. He had a private suite of rooms and a big garden all to himself. And while he was being interviewed by his doctor over the coming weeks, he told a story that he'd been in France and he'd uncovered a plot by a secretive world order, like a secret shadow government. And the world leaders were being manipulated and controlled with a machine, a mind control machine he called the Heirloom. He was able to come up with very detailed schematics and diagrams. One of them is here in this rendition. And according to him, it used gases and the electricity. He drew all the players involved, had full biographies for them. Now, because of the nature of what he was saying, it had to be fully investigated, and no, there was no mind control machine under Parliament or anywhere else. There was no secret players. It was all a delusion. Now, another one of Matthew's claims was that he was subject to a process called lobster cracking. Now, lobster cracking, according to him, was where he was being visited in his room by what he described as bizarre-looking dwarves with large heads. And they had opened up his skull, lobster cracking, and placed a magnet under his scalp that they used to control his thoughts. Again, this was investigated. There was no plate under his scalp. His room was watched. Nobody went in there. And another rendition here from the same time. This is what he described. If you have a look at that. Now that looks very familiar, doesn't it? That's 1795. The upshot is that it was a delusion. He actually became a trustee of Bethlehem and worked for reforms to the mental health system. Now, the Matthews case was later fictionalized by people such as Washington Irving, 1809, when he wrote The Men of the Moon, and he used Matthews' description of these bizarre dwarves as fictional aliens. Then Kenneth Follingsby used them for A Tale of the Future, and that is, if you look at A Tale of the Future, Kenneth Follingsby, that is the book that Strieber ripped off because it's narratively identical. The only difference is the aliens stopped themselves from floating around by tying sandbags to their feet. Then H.G. Wells wrote Man of the Year Million, and in which the alien greys, the Matthews alien greys, were humans from the future who, from a time when the time travelers, where humanity had evolved so they became dependent on technology. Their heads grew large because they had large brains. Their bodies atrophied because they didn't need them. They had these little
Sorry.
in subterranean pods, and it's kind of been built on from there in fiction. Now somehow this has become sort of like a modern folklore. Now Roswell was mentioned. Okay, now just by way of demonstration, everybody knows that Dracula is scared of sunlight. That's supposed to be folklore. Well, no, it isn't. The myth of Dracula being scared of sunlight was started in 1921 because the studio filming Nosferatu couldn't afford the extra lighting. So they had to explain why the film was so dark. And he invented this myth that Dracula was scared of sunlight. But it shows you how something that is completely made up can very quickly get into the public imagination. And everybody thinks it's real, you see. So that's why I question a lot of this. I have in the past had what some people would call the abduction experience. I no longer think it's that. But yeah, so that is my take on it. It seems to have all begun, all this conspiracy politics, target individuals with a very intelligent, but it was a delusional individual who a very in-depth study was performed on him. So this has been recently republished. It's called The Heirloom Gang, and it goes into it and how it's filtered into modern society. Unfortunately, this one, I got it from Galesburg Public Library. It should have been back December 11, 2008. I never went back. But you can get this now. So
Oh!
yes, I don't think it's real. It started with, it's actually the first serious study of schizophrenia, you see, which became fictionalized and then started being used by marketeers and things like that, and people think it's real. So that is what people are told. So it's not necessarily what people are told. The alien greys, the reptilians, they are fictional. They started in fiction with the delusions of a rather nice man, but that's just the way he was, you see. So that's my take on it. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's impossible. I do think that, of course, there's other life out there, but it's not what the majority of people think it is or what they're being told it is. So that is my take on it.
I think we assume, like you hear about, we think about some of the theories of the extraterrestrial races make us think that they are beyond us. I think we lost Rusty, by the way. I don't know. I feel bad. I know he had other things to do, so maybe he lost connection or he'll be back, but I just want to thank Rusty for being here today and showing up. Hopefully I'll have him back another time where
Charles, don't take
also
that book back, whatever you do. Don't take the book back. You'll have a huge
No, I
fine
daren't
pay.
now. It'll be thousands won't it now.
yeah, hopefully they don't find you. Oh, there's the guy.
You can get it. You can see the sketches. I mean, he was a draftsman as well, Matthew. He was a very intelligent guy, but he never shook this idea that he was this persecuted individual and important people were being mind controlled and they were duplicates and these, bizarre large-headed dwarves. It was a delusion in his head for whatever reason that was.
These things do happen. I mean, sometimes life imitates art. Fiction can often inspire real mythology, and indeed,
right.
Mythology.
See, that's another argument.
The book Foucault's Pendulum by Umberto Eco is all about that. It's a very interesting read. However,
which one's that?
It's called Foucault's Pendulum. It's by Umberto Eco. It's a very, very interesting book. So sometimes, occasionally, the cart gets put before the horse. I don't know anything about the case you've just. It sounds fascinating what you just described. I don't know anything about it, but for example,
it was rewritten for a 1950s audience because it was originally like 1795, so it was kind of unintelligible.
It would be if it was that old. Yes, the words vocabulary would have changed. But the for example,
was called Illustrations of Madness by John Hulsum. But then it got turned into the Heirloom Gang. But it's a very good. You can track where all this started and how it's evolved over the years and got into popular thinking. You see,
if there's sometimes there is like a complete and utter, what's the word? The continuity of capture when it comes to things like this. But occasionally the cart gets put before the horse. For example, it was I think it was Bill Nye, the skeptic guy. He said on his podcast that nobody saw grey aliens before 1977. The reason is that's when Close Encounters came out, of Steven Spielberg's classic movie.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone thinks
that's not accurate. People.
That's
I know.
No,
I'm just going
okay. Wait.
Robbie Graham. Robbie Graham actually found the production designer of that film and said, "Where did you get the idea for these grey aliens?" And the production designer said, "I phoned someone up who sees them." So Nye had assumed that the fictional portrayal of these greys had created the real life mythology, but in fact, it was the other way around. The fictional depiction was actually inspired by real reports.
That
No, the
happens
Matthew
sometimes.
case is a real case, but the creatures he was describing were a delusion in his head. There was no metal plate under his scalp. There was no mind control machine.
If that's the case, so be it. I mean, but I do sometimes wonder maybe he got the idea from somewhere else.
Well, there also is the entity Lamb, which was brought up by apparently Aleister Crowley. There's that story of that deity, which a lot of people think that maybe that is really what the gray alien is, or what they're seeing.
No,
Nate, you wanted to say something there for a minute. What are your thoughts on the topic of this?
Well, if you've ever studied cave paintings, you can actually see depictions of grays. If these things are mythological, they've been mythological for a very long time. If you study ancient Native American stories, they talk about star people. There's all sorts of evidence that these things existed. If you look at hieroglyphics, they depict star people. If you've seen The Fourth Kind, you've seen all that evidence.
That's a really good film. I mean, obviously, when I saw it for a couple of hours after I'd seen it, I really did think it was real.
Fourth Kind, that sounds familiar.
It's a docudrama.
Yeah, if you see The Fourth Kind.
It's an incredible film, actually.
The Swami from El Monte. Swami from El Monte. What do you think Cookie thinks? What does Cookie think about aliens? What do you think?
Well, Cookie decided to go take a nap.
Cookie was like, "This is beyond. I need it." Well, you know what, Cookie? When you were, I guess the psychic stuff can wear you out, right? She had to work hard.
This is pretty much her nap time. She's very specific. Like, she likes to sleep in the daytime, and then keep me up at night. That's her.
Yeah, that's. Well, you saw my cat in the beginning. There was a show I did a while ago, and I go, "I don't have a cat. I'm not a cat lady." And then, like 2 days, like literally, like a week later, he showed up on my window. It was like, so now I have a cat. But that's Orlando. I've called him Orlando. His name is. Sometimes I want to call him Frisky because he's fairly young and he likes to play. He'll like jump up on the back of my legs sometimes. Or I call him Squeaker because he has this meow that's kind of half like it's like not even hardly there. So I don't know what happened. Anyways, I'm off the topic here. Nate, I haven't spent a whole lot of time talking to you, and you've been here since the very beginning. And Nate is part of the Super Soldier program. Now, a lot of people, I got to say, right now, it's your community has been under scrutiny. First of all, with the documentary that came out by Oki's channel, the one with how I infiltrated a bizarre conspiracy cult, I want to ask you about your thoughts on that, and then also give me let's just give some background about yourself and how you got involved with, realizing that you had been in the program and your evolution.
Well, it was kind of a rough process. I've had encounters since I was very young, and I went through a stage where I just thought it was in my head. When I was about out of high school, I was contacted by a guy named J. Ridge, who told me he was Department of Naval Intelligence. And he told me about the 4 kinds of aliens that were discovered in the 60s. The small gray, the large gray, the reptilian, and the Nordic. As I got older, memories of these things started coming back, like suppressed memories of these aliens. And it's hard to describe. There's real footage of a small gray. If you look up Victor's alien interview. My first memory of running into those was as a kid. I looked out the window and I saw them in my neighbor's yard. I didn't know how to describe them. They were about the size of a fifth grader. I think I was the first grader at the time, so they were a little bit bigger than me. They had a light, and as soon as the light hits you, you become neutralized. It totally knocks you out, and you lose your memory pretty much. And then you wake up again, and they do not smell very good. That's the other thing I remember about them. And I'm not so sure if I've seen the Nordics or not, because they look so much like us. My website, ypxnews.com, has depictions of these aliens on it if you look at the picture section. But there are a whole lot more that I'm not allowed to know about. They're beings with and without bodies. Religious people call the ones without bodies demons. I don't know if they fold in from another dimension or what. I don't know the scientific explanation behind demons that well. Supposedly, according to Victor's alien interviews, the Greys believe in a form of reincarnation. Like your body is a container, and then it can move on to a different container or something. That's their religious concept. Supposedly they come from Zeta Articuli system, the small Greys that I saw anyway. And there's a whole variety of them. There's a whole bunch. And the reptilians can shapeshift and camouflage themselves. And there's indigenous, and then there's a winged kind called the draconians. I talked to a guy named Michael Spindler, who was kind of an expert on the reptilians. I don't know a whole lot about them. Thankfully, I haven't really encountered them very much. Yeah, there's a lot of hypnotism involved in these projects and drugs. They'll drug you and they'll hypnotize you. And let's see, at a really young age, I was psychically gifted, and that's
how did you know?
causes
Like,
migraines.
what was happening when you say psychically gifted? Like, what? Like, as a child, what were you experiencing that would constitute that you had psychic abilities?
It was just like picking up things about people. I couldn't learn their names, but do you remember Jay Collins?
Jay Collins,
Yeah.
is he an older guy that was kind of there's a maybe not. I
He was
don't
a
really have a
whistleblower that got on the Basis project. He used one of his NSA friends to look me up, and they said that they used a bunch of poems to control me. They hypnotized me with the poems, and the poems could activate me or deactivate my abilities. Kind of like a dog almost. And he tried to get the NSA papers to me, and he said that the transporter guy got shot on the way over to me. So I'll never get my own background information.
is anybody in your family in the military at all?
He said that I was gene spliced. So I wondered how I was born, like if my parents were really my parents, and it turns out they were, and that their sperm and embryo were somehow gene spliced with mutant DNA, which was not from my parents. So that's what Jay Collins told me was in the NSA documents, and I learned about that around 2015, which is something I didn't know growing up.
I realize now that I had psychic abilities when I was a child, but I didn't know what they were. Like I did have moments of clairvoyance, and I had certain things that were happening, but then because we were going to church, and they said, oh well, when you're psychic, that means that's from the devil, so I at that time I blocked it. Like I disconnected in my head now, and I don't talk about it very often because it's like I don't do card readings, I don't whatever, but I see things, and I have had premonitions of things happening, and I can read people really well. Like I can look into somebody, but I also have the skill of observing people, because when you, when you've been doing acting and theater your whole life, you're trained to observe people and to mimic them, so, I think I'm kind of, in a way that's kind of a skill set. But also if you're an empath, if there's a level of an empathic psychic ability where you feel like, obviously that's something that Corey Good talks about, but I think that's really real. And I also find it interesting that allegedly, the intelligence and military want to use people who have those abilities, for projects that we already know of. That if you are able to read people in different means, you're a little bit beyond just regular, interaction, that's being used. And if it's being used, then why are they using it? Like what? And then the question comes into being, well, is everybody like I've heard, well, the natural state is everybody should be psychic, because it's part of just being human, but that we've had all these toxins and things like that have blocked our ability, and of course social conditioning, and just the belief that, oh, it's not possible that you have that. Like a lot of people just think of everything being in the physical reality rather than realizing that there's something else beyond what we just see in front of us, and that this is actually changeable and malleable. Like everything is not a permanent or a fixed state. That's why when people say, I firmly believe that it's possible to be an intuitive and a psychic and those things. But yeah, can people take advantage of it? I mean, literally, let's say you have the ability, because I've been approached by real physicians. I'm saying real physicians, but they went through the medical association and got their degrees, and they practice medicine. But at the same time, they are exploring and writing books about people being healed by someone else thinking about it, or that they were able to do like these things. Like, for example, the men who stare at goats, they were able to stop a goat's heart. The guy really did stop a goat's heart by thinking about it. The fact that our thoughts can have that kind of energy to literally kill somebody is kind of a scary thought, but obviously there's something to it, right? So I just think that when people, like, again, like when you think about, like, let's say you are psychic or whatever, is it ethical really to take money for it, in a sense? If it is kind of, like, what is a shaman really? Like, what made somebody the medicine man? Did they is part of it the fact that they took, hallucinogenics, which also opened them up into another realm to see things? It gave them an edge. Like, there's these there's a way of treating it that might not necessarily be ethical, and then because it's so malleable, you can't define what a psychic ability is. In some ways, we have those, tarot readings with the neon signs where you have gypsies, taking advantage of people. And then you get into the whole like occult thing, like why is the occult so attached to the UFO community? Like it's almost like it's one and the same in many ways. Like, for example, Kevin just said, Mark Richards was like, Joanne became a witch or a crony because, he was writing about those things associated with this book.
I can answer that, actually, Terry. I can answer it. It's actually a skeptic called Michael Barkin who came up with this idea. He called it the cultic milieu. And he said that he pointed out correctly, because I read his book called Cultural Conspiracy, which, although I disagree with most of what he says in it, I found it a very, very fascinating read. He said that people who have an interest in one form of esoteric knowledge, whether it's conspiracy theories, so-called, UFOs, the paranormal, will tend also to believe in other areas of that. So if you get a crowd of people together, you say, put your hands up if you believe in UFOs, and so many people put their hands up, probably an equal number of people, and usually the same people will put their hands up when you say, do you believe in ghosts? Things like this. Now, there's unlike Michael Barkin, I don't believe there's any bearing in terms of that fact over whether the phenomena being described within the cultic milieu, so-called, what he calls it, is true or false. But he is correct to identify there is this correlation.
Well, of course. I mean, when it's being exploited like that, they're broadening the market.
The midnight stare at goats thing, as far as I know, is real. Someone pulled a gun on me and then got a heart attack, and then I looked away from him and he recovered. I don't know.
Nobody
how much
asked
of
the
this
question,
stuff I
do
should
they?
share.
What?
Who benefits? Nobody asks who benefits most.
Who benefits most from what? From
linking all these together, UFOs with the psychic thing and the New Age. Who benefits most?
Well, I mean, let's say you're doing you have your career's based on that. I mean, like if the people who are, I mean, saying that they're capable of doing it, and that aren't, that are scammers, you would say
Right.
they would be benefiting the most. I think one of the top things that gets searched on the internet is UFOs. People are into conspiracies. So, there's in terms of money on the internet, there's definitely a way for certain people to capitalize on it. Obviously, that's the whole thing with Kevin Moore's research. In a way, it's like saying, hey, here's this guy in prison for, basically a Dungeons and Dragons, Penn's Dragon Society conspiracy, a person that mastermind somebody's murder is now still in his prison cell telling people that he's part of a secret space program, and the woman that married him, and by the way, I don't get it when I've said this several times, I don't get it why women marry guys in prison. Like that's really having the bad boy syndrome there, but I guess it's a good way if you don't ever want to really have the guy around much, but it's like, well, he's in prison, so I could still be a loner. Maybe they're just a solid. I don't get it. It's like I can't, like, I'm in shock that the Melendez brothers actually got mates, and here I am still single. Like, what's up with that? I mean, it's like, it's like, hey, what's wrong with me? But I just feel that, there's money to be made in saying it. It's the same way that you can say, well, even like a false religion or a religious person, they're able to It's the concept of the unknown that people want to know. And if you profess to have information about that, about anything, about what's going to happen after we die, then that's a place for money, right, Charles? I mean, obviously,
that's exactly what it is. I mean, what you have are a lot of people who may well have had something mysterious happen to them that they don't yet understand, and they are told what it is. Right? They're told
Right.
this is an
losing
alien
money.
abduction, and they're not told everything else that it's most likely to be, and that's exploitation, right?
If it's not true, yeah. If it's not true, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about what you talk about, the scam allegedly of what's going on within our community. I mean, I know Joanne Richards. I've met her many times. I've listened to her talk. I actually visited the castle she met that her husband mentions. It's in Devon, UK. It's a lovely place. I didn't see any sort of dinosaurs there and the other things he talks about, but I did pay it a visit. I mean, obviously, Kevin. I mean, I do watch your channel. I will watch your production on this particular subject, but I would like to hear both sides of the story, and the same goes for the other individuals we mentioned here today. It's I think it's if it turns out you're correct, then so be it, and I'll accept that. But well, I mean,
all you're going to do. I mean, the only thing is, if you want to go against the court testimony when this comes out and it just shows what anyone could find, but I mean, you know, it's difficult to find because it's buried, you know, because it's many years ago, but it's all there. If you want to go against that, then that's fine. But that's just not. There's the facts, and there's the non-facts. And I know sometimes when people are telling the non-facts, it's enticing because, God, they must be telling the truth because look how they stand in their power when they're telling that story. Do you know what I mean? But they've got reasons to be standing in that power, to be telling the story like that. They're married to someone. They've invested their life in the rest of their life into it. They've got. There's so many nuances going on that you don't understand when you see it from the front. Do you know what I mean? Until you sort of dive in. But no, I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And if there's anyone that wants to say anything from that, I was just going to say something about the mediumship stuff as well. But is there anything you want to say from that, Ben? Or
I mean, I've been interviewed by Kerry. I mean, I know Kerry. I've been interviewed a few times by her. I've always told the truth. I actually spoke at the Watford conference last year. I told the truth. I as someone who was involved with this project did tell the truth. And of course, it could turn out you're correct, and I understand that. And I won't go against facts.
I am.
Proven. Yeah.
And I don't mean that. I don't mean that in an egotistic way. If you've done so much research on it, I mean, I mean, only I can have done the research, so I can only say that I know I'm right. But I mean, yes, I wasn't there when the murder took place, but come on,
of course,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
fair enough. Well, as I said, I'll investigate both sides of the story, but I will give you a fair hearing. I do watch your channel, and I'll give you a fair hearing, of course.
So Ben, I'm curious. I mean, we've been speaking for years. So what is it about this particular field that makes somebody such as yourself want it to be true so much?
Well, I don't know. I honestly don't. I mean, this is going back into my early history and the kind of things that I have been talking about. I suppose I've always had an interest in this particular subject. As for wanting it to be true, I mean, of course, no one is without bias. I don't believe people who say to me, I'm not biased. Everyone has confirmation bias. So I have made an effort, I think, to overcome that. I've tried to make an effort to overcome that as much as I can. But the answer, I don't know, Charles. I just don't know what it is about me. I mean, you could get a psychologist getting me on the couch, might have a go, but you know, I won't touch psychologists with a barge pole.
You wouldn't be the same person otherwise.
Yeah.
Rather have you the way you are.
Ben, I have a question to ask you. Now, you were on Carrie Cassidy's show, and what is your background on? Are you an experiencer? Like, why were you interviewed by Carrie? What was the topic?
Well, she actually was interested in the book, I wrote, Roswell Rising, a Novel of Disclosure. She actually wanted to talk to me about that. But she actually interviewed me. It was earlier than that, actually. It's back in 2015. It was actually before that book was published.
Okay.
I can't remember it. I'm sorry, but it was actually the live show that was at the Basis Project conference, and she was there. She did this joint project with Miles, and I do have the video. I mean, the video is actually on. I did upload the video because the channel was completely yeeted, and one of Miles's channels was as well. So I put it up on. It's actually on Facebook, so I could rewatch that video and let you know.
Okay, so it was based on the book that you wrote. What inspired you to write the book?
The book Roswell Rising, a novel of disclosure, is basically about the kind of subjects that we talk about within our community. But I asked myself the question, what would happen if we got the truth instead of the lies? And that led to a thought experiment, which led to an imaginary scenario. Because I'm a writer of fiction. I'd written 2 fictional novels before then. And this eventually led to a book called Roswell Rising, a novel of disclosure, and then it's 2 sequels. Shameless plug. You can get them at all good book jobs.
Where can people find your book at?
Any outlet, any retail outlet. I've got this one. If you'll indulge me, Tere.
Okay.
You can get it anywhere. There you go. There you go.
So great.
That's my advertising done with.
Hey, you know what? And let me advertise again. This is actually, and you know what? I want to do more like panel type shows like this. I've been very solitary for a while lately, but I'm wanting to. I really enjoy having other people on and having these types of discussions as well. So I'm going to do more, but this is my spring break. I actually started spring break officially yesterday. I did my last few assignments on Friday. And so I'm off. Thank you. And you know what, by the way, I'm going to brag. My first semester back, I got a 4.0. And this semester is a little more difficult for me because I did all my fun classes with my major, like a writing, which is easier for me, fiction writing. I took a fiction writing class. I took a screenplay writing class. I also took critical thinking English 3, learning how to write essays and stuff like that. And then I went over to this semester, which I had to get some more. I had to take anthropology, which, by the way, I am getting an A so far in that. But the only class that I'm getting a B in right now is my Math 45 class, and that is my weak point. But I'm kind of proud of myself for at least getting a B so far. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to carry I don't know if I can bump that up to an A before the end of the semester. So I might not get the 4.0 this one, but it's going well. And if you would like to support me through my Patreon, I have no Patreon people at all. So friends, supporters. So I'm at patreon.com/notmyrabbithole. I've got 3 different levels. And then also you can do a one-time donation on my PayPal at hollywoodhemptress@gmail.com. I'm also on Venmo. It's going across the screen right there. So I'm going to do just one more plug on that. It's hard for me to ask, but I know that I'm providing content, and it's regular to have Patreons in this world. And so I've got to make sure that I do this on a regular basis, because a lot of times I just do shows that I didn't even mention it. But I do need to have the exchange of energy come back to me so I can keep doing this. I like doing live streams on YouTube, and I feel like as a person now, and I haven't retired from comedy. I never meant to, once you're a comedian, you're a comedian. I would love to get back up again, and again, I'm thinking about doing that this week, getting my going back up on stage. I actually did stand up for extra credit in my critical thinking 3 class, which went well, by the way. But that was for young. It was good because the people are younger. The whole thing is that can you relate to somebody who's 30 years younger than you still? And that was I was glad to see that I was at that time, which was only last semester.
How did you manage that?
I think because of the fact that if you stay tapped in, to younger culture, and you can relate that way. And also I think because I brought it to them. Like I went, I talked about how I went back to college and was older. And then I think the thing that broke the ice was when I said, yeah, I'm 59 years old, but I'm still hot. As a matter of fact, the other day I just got hit on, this guy, he looked at me and he goes, you really don't look like a hooker. And I said, that's because I'm not, because I give it up for free. And that was like, that kind of broke the ice, sometimes in order to ingratiate yourself, you have to joke about what the obvious is. But really, in a sense, like younger people really aren't that different from ourselves as older. If you can just kind of think, because in a way, I kind of feel like I never really grew up anyways. There's always that part of you that, if you are a person who's constantly trying to learn and you approach life with like like, for example, David Bowie never got old. There's older people that tend to like still seem cool, not without like really trying. It's just that, they're kind of like, you try to get yourself to be kind of like ageless, but I think that's in your mind. It's not, it's like, you just don't think old, don't think like, oh, this, or get set in your way. There's always like, for example, this particular topic, like if you get like really close-minded and stoic and say, well, that's absolutely not a possibility that anything like that would I'm looking at Charles because sometimes I feel like Charles is more of a skeptic, but it's okay to be a skeptic.
No,
right?
I'm not. I'm not.
I am a skeptic too, really.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm going with. I'm just interested in what is true.
Me too.
So yeah, I tend to go with what it is, not what it isn't. So it's easier to be deceived than you think. So, for example, I came on here, I did the Charles voice into this microphone right here. So you think I'm in front of a computer speaking into this microphone, right? Well, no, I'm not. It's not even plugged in.
Oh.
It's easier to be duped than you think, right?
James Randi did that as well on one of his.
I think he did as well, yeah.
Quite regularly, yeah. He does that quite. He died a couple years ago, yeah.
The Swami.
So just because somebody tells you that an experience, it's this, that, or the other, well, no, it doesn't mean that at all.
I think I don't know. Did the Swami from El Monte fall asleep over there? Did he fall asleep?
I hope so. Oh, he's alive. Thank God.
Yay! He's joined the doggy. He's gone to sleep like Cookie.
I'm not skeptical. I used to be sold on a lot of this, but when I turned 50, I'm sold on almost none of it now. Right, and
well,
Ben, I don't agree with pretty much anything Ben says, but there's no nastiness in it, is there, Ben?
None at all. No.
There's not.
No, of course not. No, I have skeptic friends, as the saying goes. So how can I be a skepticist?
In fact, when people go after Ben, really in real life nasty, it's us skeptics that get rid of him for him.
You're good, yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
The people I've dealt with over the years, I've had to call the police. I wouldn't even repeat what they've said to me over the years. So how can I get angry with somebody who, I don't know, thinks that alien abductions are imagination or something like that? I can't get angry with people like that after what I've gone through. But people do change their minds. People on the skeptic milieu and the cultic milieu, that's the term Barker used. I don't know why I'm using it. They make converts from each other, and those pass each other on the street between each other. Michael Shermer, a big time skeptic, he's one of the rock star skeptics, as they called, has recently in the last couple of years has been making some very interesting noises that he might be about to cross the aisle, and that will cause a lot of aggravation for him if he does that. But I think hopefully people on the skeptic side, like yourself, Charles, who are a bit more ecumenical, a bit more open-minded, and a bit more accepting. You won't give him a hard time about that. So I certainly don't give you a hard time for changing your mind.
But I haven't.
Oh, right,
I
you
mean,
said
I
you
have
said you
years
did.
ago,
You said
what you're saying, yeah.
you said you used to buy into a lot
Oh,
of it. You
I
don't
used to
anymore.
be, yeah, but like a lot of people have done, that's what you're told it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's inconvenient. I mean, you wish you hadn't seen some stuff, right? I mean, I used to be an Ann Druffel fan, right? But then there was that incident in 2005 where she got busted on live TV fabricating a healing and fabricating a made-up alien, pretending to be in communication with it that had been invented by a stage magician. She got busted, and you wish you hadn't seen some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like Derek Acora,
Yeah.
you know, what he did, you know, Creed K for that. So, yeah,
Mary
I mean,
loves Dick.
yeah, you got to be like, you got to be whiter than
that
white.
was a made-up ghost, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Creed Cafer was supposedly they fed him fake information to try and see if he would take the bait, and he did. As I said, this could be because he's fake. It could be because he's not fake, but he was tempted, possibly because he is a big star, to do things. I mean, I know a guy called Ross Hemsworth who has presented TV shows on this area, and he wanted to do genuine ghost hunting videos and genuine ghost hunting TV shows, and he did a couple. He did one called Ghost Detectives on Channel 4. Yet he had offers from TV producers saying, "We'll give you a big budget, we'll give you we'll give you a crew, we'll give you everything you need. We're going to make a big primetime TV show, but we do have to deliver, Ross. We have to deliver." All right.
Yeah.
And of course, Ross, to his credit, walked out. But a lot of people would say, "Okay, I believe in ghosts. I think they're real. I got some real paranormal investigation here, and I'm going to go along with it. And yeah, we'll fake a few things," without realizing that is like pouring oil into the water tank. You know, you can never take that devil's bargain if you're involved
then
in
the
this sort of
question
thing.
is forever, what are they telling the truth about, right?
Exactly.
Mm.
It's you got to be whiter than white.
Mm.
If you are, I mean, this is what I have. I said I told the truth when I spoke at the Watford conference last year. Spoke the truth when I was on these other things. Other people might not, possibly because they're complete and utter liars. Also, because they may think they may be tempted to embellish something real with lies, which is an almost oxymoron. It's contradictory if you do that, and anyone who does that is playing with fire, and they'll never be taken seriously again, and they won't deserve to be.
Yeah, but I think no one's perfect, are they? Do you know what I mean? And then I mean, to try. Yeah, I you know, hats off to you if for wanting to tell the only the truth as you see it, Ben. Absolutely. And I will say about Joanne Richards, I think, I'll leave it at this, that she's been manipulated. So, and you touched upon both of you about, not being cruel to people. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? When well, it's been difficult for me sometimes to not go off the edge sometimes, right? Maybe it's the ginger hair or whatever it is, but I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be kinder. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to attack people or being cruel. I think that's. If I was that way, I apologize for being that way. I'm not going to, continue doing it that way at all. I think we can just get a bit passionate, can't we? Sometimes, some of us. But you're right. There's no reason to be cruel. We've all got a different opinion. But with the whole psychic medium stuff, I know a lot of mediums that don't even touch upon the conspiracy stuff, won't even talk about it, or it's never in their conversation or their thoughts. Nor the UFO stuff. They're very much, into the gift that, as they call it, that they've got, and they just stick with that. I'm sure you've come across a number of mediums, all of you, that are just, like that. Do you know what I mean?
How about arguments with people like that? Say,
one or two, but they don't talk about it all the time.
I say talk about this one subject, but don't talk about anything else because that discredits us and things like that. So that's almost like people specialize.
Some say that, yeah, sure, and everyone's going to say something different. But I think the majority, well, unless I'm wrong, are just with whatever gift they've got, and I'm calling it a gift because that's what they would call it. I think in any industry we can all get ripped off, can't we? There's always bad eggs in any mechanics, that want to rip you off. Electrician, anyone. It's just, I suppose, this subject to some people, when it's communication or whatever it may be with this dear loved one, or whether it's in this field, isn't it? In the psychic medium stuff that we get a bit touchy about. But at the end of the day, yes, I'm sure there are people that are used and abused in this industry. I'm talking about the clients of the readers, of those that not being ethical with what they do. But there are good ones though. There are many more genuine ones, I feel, or ones that feel that they're genuine than there are bad ones. I mean, do you agree with that? Anyone?
Yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of characters. Some are less honest than others. You unfortunately, there are many dishonest people in this world, and every time I underestimate that, I end up getting proved wrong. But at the same time, there's no field as a complete nest of blackguards. Yeah, there are genuine people I respect within our community.
And if you're going to be an adult and you're going to go as an adult to get a reading from someone as an adult, then that's your adult choice, isn't it, to get that reading? And you can either listen to what they've got to say, and most times people don't, and they'll just do other things. Sometimes people do. Sometimes people are on a journey with these readers, or when they're getting a reading, we're all at different levels, aren't we? I remember when I first started getting readings from psychics, and sometimes I'd want to go along with what they said because it sounded so good, or I would walk away from the reading and think, well, whatever's going to be is going to be, or maybe there wasn't a bit of addiction that I had at one point, right? I mean, that's a long time ago. Now I probably get a reading twice a year, right? With a reader that I've had for a long time that I feel has a genuine connection with me, because I feel that some readers, this is my own personal take, some readers have a connection with you and some will not connect with you. What that's all about, I don't know. And I don't go with what the reader says. I just listen, and if so, and to be honest, most times, with the readers I've been using, what they say actually does happen, but I'm not living my life in that direction. I think that the way it works is, if it is genuine, is that they see a potential of where you are right now at this point. If you continue down this line and go in this direction, well, this is going to be the outcome, and or you've got free will to change it. And they're not 100% right neither. And I guess it's this as well. It's like, people, if they feel they've got the genuine gift to give a reading for you, and there's different levels of that, then is it worth listening, being curious as to what that is, or to just cut it off and say it's a load of rubbish? Well, I suppose I tend to think that life does. I can't prove that life continues. None of us can, right? But if it does, then are they? And I think what Tere is saying is true, that we all have this ability. We don't need to go to someone else, really. All answers lie within, but we were too chicken shit to listen, I feel sometimes, right? So that inner voice, when it's always right, isn't it? Most times, right? That inner critic. Well, intuition, you might want to call it that.
Definitely, yeah.
But
definitely
but I think there's some. I think they can be the good ones can play a good part, and it can be helpful. Is it true? Well, that's a personal opinion.
$200 for a half hour? A lot of them are like that.
Yeah, no, they are, and much more, some of them. And if that's what they want to charge, and if you want to pay that, and you're okay with paying that, and that's not going to make you, and you are an adult and you want to pay that, and you're okay with paying that, you pay that. Yeah, you do what you feel is right. And there's others that just do donation based, very few, but there's others that do donation based. I've come across more and more of them right now. I think it's. I mean, what don't you think though, Charles? It's an adult decision.
It's a decision. People deserve to have all available information. What they have are a bunch of credentials a lot of the time, saying that this accomplished psychic, blah 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 blah. Well, no, that's exploitation.
I wouldn't pay for one.
Depends what you got out of the reading. It depends what you got out of the reading.
Nate, did you have something you wanted to say in the mix there for a second?
A lot of it's Barnum statements.
I said I wouldn't pay for one personally.
With some of them, it's not.
Okay. I threw out just the StreamYard link in the chat. I know Holly's there. Holly, if you want to come on the show too, that would be great. I wanted to take the conversation back to the documentary, the how I infiltrated a conspiracy cult, the Oki channel. What are your thoughts on his take on the James Rink and the super soldier community and what happened there? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a kind of like, I saw it and I thought it was firstly, it was too short. Really, it didn't go into it in all detail. Enough detail in my view, but it was interesting how he kind of felt himself becoming a part of it in a way. He invented a fake story, but he ended up kind of like speaking as if it's true. This doesn't, again, I don't think this has any bearing on the factual nature of the community, what he was talking about necessarily, but I did find that an interesting kind of sorry, Nate's the expert on this. I'll let him talk. You go ahead, Nate.
Okay. What do you want to know?
I mean, what did you think about that documentary? I mean,
the guy that exploited James Rink.
you see that he exploited him.
Well, yeah, James Rink, been on his show years ago. He did a regression with me too, even though he's not qualified to do a regression. Like, you're supposed to have a special license and training to do it. Yeah, I think he was duped. He works with some people I wouldn't work with, like Kosal and Adrian Espinoza.
Who are those people? Who works with those? James?
Yeah,
Kosal
James works with them.
Okay, so Kosal, isn't he? He was that guy who talked about that he was a time traveler, right? Isn't that Kosal? Yeah, I interviewed. Yeah, I felt honestly, I think that guy's full of it. I even interviewed him one time, and I don't believe him at all. The Kosal person, I don't think he's credible. But that's just me.
I agree. He sent me death threats and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Kosal or Bara May, his other name, sent me death threats. And Adrian's just a scam artist claiming to be a shaman. He'll claim that he has AIDS. He'll claim all sorts of stuff to get money. I'll try to sell you his Skynet program. He's pretty crooked too.
So these guys are associated with James Rink, and he has interviewed them as if they're legitimate, or has he taken it back? I mean, see, the problem I have with James Rink is he doesn't seem to have any discernment on like for example, the problem for me with the documentary, and I'm just going to say my own opinion about it, was that, first of all, I thought it was very interesting. I think he even showed Captain Mark Richards in the beginning of it. Like, there was like all these, Corey Good, like all of the usuals of the people that there's another part of this media. I mean, I really think this is maybe what's happened with our community, is that there is a Kevin Moore now. Like, there is a Stephen Cambion that is doing Truth Seekers, and not that I'm a fan of theirs, I'm not really. But you also have Paranormal Hood. You've CW Chanter, who has always been a devil's advocate in terms of the UFO community, or has had and calling out who he thought, like people who don't find David Wilcock authentic, and they make good cases against them, right now. The whole thing that happened with Gaia TV and Corey Good and David Wilcock. Is that Queenie? Is that Queen?
Yeah, that's my dog, Queen.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, so then, like, when you see, like, James Rink is a spinoff of Lorian Fenton and the Revolution Radio thing, as well as Carrie Cassidy, as well as what happened with Max Spears and James Casbolt. And, he comes from that particular era. He has his own forum. He gets a lot of people that follow him. But when you watch the documentary, it doesn't look like he discerns his guest. The fact that it's like Stephen Cambion, having Sarah give him a psychic reading, when in fact he's trying to prove that Sarah's not a legitimate psychic by her reading. So he fooled Sarah. It's kind of the same thing that Ogie's doing with the Super Soldier program, and putting an eye, like going, look, here's a demographic of people in a conspiracy world, and was able to put down, like, what the folklore was, like what are the typical stories, which actually do go back to, you know, the hollow earth theory and everything. It's all kind of combined with the super soldier program. And then somebody could just go up and make it up, you know, and follow the blueprint of it. And James had, if he's psychic, how come he can't pick out that he was phony? You know, James, like, the guy made an appointment, you know, called him out. I want to have a session with you. James Rink came back and said, I'm booked, you know, so he had to wait like another month, but he paid James $200 to have him have this conversation where James listened to him, validated him, and then went and invited him to that forum to you know, have an interview and possibly speak and this and that. So it's easy for somebody who's not honest to come up in this particular super soldier thing and go, yeah, I'm a super soldier too, and here's my story. And, you know, like, I can be Captain Mark Richards and have a woman go to these here. No one sees Captain Mark Richards' face ever. And yet his legacy exists, that people believe it and they can make money off of it. And that's the problem with, I think, that the documentary. But I'm hogging the conversation. So I'll give it back to you, Nate. Hi, Holly. Holly's here too. So both of you, it's a question for both of you, maybe.
Hi, Holly. How you doing?
Thanks for being here. Yay.
Yeah, he didn't charge me.
There you go. You gotta unmute yourself, Holly.
Sorry,
okay.
I'm in my cleaning clothes, so forgive my appearance.
Oh, no problem. I just slapped makeup on at the last minute, so I'm even kind of not as fixed up as I wanted to. I didn't get to spend as much time on myself, so whatever. I got the glasses that kind of hide shit. Nate, yeah, you know, you got baggy eyes, just put some glasses on and it'll just help it out a little bit, you know, just make sure you like do a, you know, anyway. So Nate, I'm throwing the ball back to you on the documentary. By the way, do you think he has a gargoyle in his throat? That's what James Rink said. He's
Don't
definitely
say that.
I can't let that go. The gargoyle thing just bothers me. Gargoyle.
Yeah, and then we'll get on to Hugh Hefner's gargoyle. That isn't, you know.
I got a gargoyle in my throat.
I thought the documentary was entertaining. I like James Rink as a person. I liked being on his show.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he uses my forum too, not very often. He has this guy named Peter the Insider that's pretty interesting. I've talked to Peter the Insider twice. He claims to have a database and work at Pine Gap in Australia. He knows a couple languages. I don't know if he is legit or not, but he did know some weird stuff about me that I hadn't made public.
I went to Pine Gap, Nate. I didn't go into it, obviously, but I went past it on a tour coach. And this is when I was in Australia visiting my brother who used to live over there. And the coach, the driver, the tour guides told us that it's one of the biggest employers in the area. It's in a very remote part of Australia. And about half the people in Alice Springs work there. That's a nearby big town. But he says, if you ask them what they do, they'll tell you they're like a storekeeper or a janitor or something like that. They won't tell you what their real job is. And what really goes on there is a complete mystery. It's like Area 51 or Menwith Hill in Yorkshire, England. It's a closed location, totally closed to the outside world.
Yeah. One of my flashcards of the Nordic alien supposedly comes from Pine Gap on my website.
Yeah. Holly, so what do you think about that documentary? Have you seen it, or are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
No, I haven't seen it. But
okay.
I'm now very interested in seeing it, though, so I know what I'll be doing tomorrow.
It's on YouTube. It's only like about it's not that long. It's not. I don't think it's more than like 90 minutes if you want to watch it.
What's the name of it again?
It's called How I Infiltrated a Bizarre Conspiracy Cult. And okay, and it's well done. I mean, I think it's well done. It's as well done as Kevin Moore. Right? Okay. So now you came into this community, the Super Soldier forum community. Like it's been like since 2015? How long has it been that you've been online talking about it?
Well, me personally since 2014, but publicly since 2016 after Max died.
Okay. And how did you realize that you yourself were that you said, oh, I'm in this program? How is it that you come to, did you see, were things happening to you as a person and then you went, oh, and you saw something online and you went, oh, this is it. This is, I know now I see who I am. Was it that way or how did it happen?
It was a kind of a process. First, I was on prescriptions, 33 prescriptions. What happened was I used medicinal cannabis to come off. And when I came off of that, memories from my childhood started to come back, as well as I started to fall under demonic attack. I'd have night terrors, nightmares. I'd wake up and things would be right next to my face. And I'd have to blink my eyes a few times and then it would move back and sink into the walls. So I had read Betty Eadie's book, Embraced by the Light. And I know it will sound strange, but I started to remember memories not only from my childhood, but also to a time from before we were born here on Earth. Then I started looking up angels and demons online. I bumped into Jordan Maxwell. And at that point, I was seeking Jesus, point blank. That was it. I was taking up my faith. It had gotten me off prescriptions. But then I started having these memories come back. But then a memory that came back, so that was about 2013, 2014. I had a memory come back when I flown out to Colorado, December of 2011. I was approached at a Hooters bar in Westminster, Colorado, by 3 high-ranking super soldiers, if you will, for lack of better terms. And they approached me. I believe they regressed me. They gave me a shot of something. And one of the men said to me, Holly, don't you remember me? Don't you remember the kids in a cage? And I had spoken to these 3 men, and they had used scopolamine on me. But anyway.
That's frightening.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
That memory, but it's a funny, when I tell you how I was approached, it's actually a funny story. But fast forward to 2013, 2014, I came off the scripts. I used cannabis. I remembered that happening to me in Colorado, and it's a fuzzy memory, but I remembered that. Well, I started looking up angels and demons online. I was listening to Jordan Maxwell. I bumped into Jonathan Kahn, but then I kept seeing this word, super soldier, super soldier. And I'm like, what is this hooey fooey? It's some other garbage on YouTube, Well, anyway, finally, after a few months, I clicked on it, and it happened to be, I think it was James Casbolt, Project Ibis. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I have memories, and I can't believe I haven't thought of them. But more than that, how would this kid know what's in my head? The only way this man on YouTube would know those sort of memories is if he was there. And then he started to show pictures of him as a child. And it literally all came crashing back to me. Within about a month or 2, I started getting flash memories. I recognized Aaron Rothschild. I had carried a knife on me in my normal life for 4 years. 2 knives, as a matter of fact, because I was in danger. And one knife was named Moses. The second one was named Aaron. And I always, in my mind, had a vision of this blonde-headed girl and this brown-headed boy, but the name was Aaron. And I couldn't place it, but it just was one of those things that stuck with me. I figured it was all in my head, but who cares? I like the name Aaron. Well,
see, I have a problem with Aaron. Like the person that you're mentioning there, like,
okay.
Okay, the reason why is because he's claiming to have the web, the gill DNA, the web, like the dolphin DNA is like, for me, it's kind of like, you know, it's like I'm having a problem with suspended belief in it.
I mean, if you go to human experimentation and stuff, like when we were in the cages with Joseph Mengele, whatever he experimented, who knows what they did, but I don't know about all that stuff, Tere, honestly.
Right.
So I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, and I feel like bad that but I got to bring it up because, like, I think that's where, like, some of us have blocks about certain things, and also when you hear stuff that sounds like a superhero, that sounds like, you know, like it's fiction. And again, I think that's part of Not Charles's argument, is that, you know, like, look, we read this as a story. This is a movie, and I'm having a problem believing that it's real because it's a movie. The one way thing that I do think is, like, I go, okay, some of this, you know, the MK Ultra mind control part of things, the not having losses of time or having a flash of something or whatever. I think that that's true. Like, I think that there are people that, you know, that have been maybe cultivated since childhood or whatever, and they're used for things. They may have special abilities. I think people have that they might have been used for, and they were, but, you know, maybe they had some sort of like chip augmentation, but the you know, Dr. Moreau stuff is where I'm kind of that's where I'm having issues in some of it.
I have to say though, and forgive me for the super soldiers, because they're probably going to kick my butt after their superpowers. That's demonic possession to me. So if we had any superpowers when we were super soldiers, to me, that's demonic possession, because I had to go through a freedom deliverance. That was one thing when I woke up from these projects, I sought that out. Once I realized what was going on and I heard them talk about altars and then all these different deities, I thought, you know, it would be stupid for me not to seek God out at this point, because this stuff is beyond me, especially spirituality. But I self-taught myself since then. But I have to say those spiritual abilities came from demonic possession.
Okay. And I can see where that might be a possibility, because sometimes, like, you see footage when people are demonically possessed, they're able to go all over the place. And have you seen that? Like, also those drugs that are bath salts that, you know, there's a certain drug, Flacco or Flack or something like that. And people have these, they do weird shit and they look like they're all, you know, those videos freak me out. I'm like, whoa, you know, like what happened? And to think that maybe somebody might have actually slipped you that in a drink, you know, or something, you know, it's just is really scary. And, you know, I feel bad. Is Swami from El Monte? Are you there? Are you there? Hey, Swami, how's it going? I feel like, you know, I've tuned you out, and I didn't mean to be doing that. Like, it's like, what do you think about all of this conversation? Were you expecting us to go this big into the UFO area?
Well, I didn't really expect anything.
Okay, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's actually midnight where I am.
Oh,
and I'm going to have to go to bed.
Yes.
That's what's happening on international audience, you know. Sorry, Charles.
I'm going to check out too in a moment, because I'm aching the high heaven. I got to lie down.
Yeah,
that's fine.
You know, but Tere, Swami, and Kevin and Holly and Nate. Nate's not there, but it's been really good talking to you, and I hope to talk again.
Likewise.
Thank you for being
Charles,
here.
Of course, you and I will catch up, Charles, as we always do.
Oh no,
you're
I'll
welcome.
be seeing you very soon. Yeah, I'm going to deal with you.
Soldier psychic gags and stuff will get me.
Yeah. Right.
All right, guys. Well, I'm off to bed, and thank you very much. Night.
And
enjoy the rest
buy
of the
Ben's
show.
book, because he needs a space in his bedroom.
Yeah, that's right.
Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. All right, that was great. You know, unfortunately, I'm probably going to go for like maybe like another half hour. So if you guys want to stay, whoever wants to stay, Kevin, are you want to hang, or you can go too?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm going to get going in just a moment. Well, I'll get going now, actually, yeah, because I've just got another load of editing to do. So it's been lovely to be here, and it's been interesting as well. And it's nice to meet everyone. So yeah, thank you. And I'll get you on as well for the podcast for the Mark Richards.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking for. I would love to. So just let me know when it's happening. I'll be there. Yeah, thanks.
My hat scared everybody away. Terry.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And how are you hanging in there, Swami from El Monte? You want to go? You want to stay? How do you feel at the moment?
Well, what I really want to do is go to Home Depot and get me a chainsaw. I want to start carving tikis, and Home Depot's got these little short. They just got them in 8-inch chainsaw blades, which would be perfect for doing intricate work on wood carving. Carving tikis. You get like palm trees, you cut them down, and then you make tikis out of them. And I just want to go up to Home Depot and get a chainsaw.
Well, it's okay. You can go to Home Depot now. I appreciate bringing on Cookie the psychic dog, and your magic tricks were great. So psychic's magic trick. I mean, Cookie dog's psychic reading. Everything. It's fantastic. Impressive. She's impressive.
There was no trick. It was all Cookie. She's real.
She's real. Yeah. Okay. Well, then, thank you so much for being on the show. Go to Home Depot. Guys, I have to go to the bathroom really quick. So I'm gonna put. Huh? I gotta go if I'm gonna stay. So I'm gonna put on that song that I was missing from the beginning and let that go for a moment. We'll just take a little quick break. I appreciate you guys being here, and let's get into the Super Soldier stuff. We'll end with Super Soldier talk. So and maybe we can even talk about a few other things as well. Okay, so let me put on a fun song.
Maybe next time you can use some of my music.
Oh yeah, I was looking. Hey, can you put the music link in the chat? And then because I was looking for it on Spotify and it didn't come up right away. So so if you could do that, that would be great. Okay, let me stop sharing this for a minute. Hold on. Yeah, because I will play it.
I don't use Spotify, so I don't know how to look it up. The album's called Anything, and it's by the band Queen Poodle.
Okay. Why is it being such a little bitch here? Okay, here it is.
It has a picture of a poodle and a beagle on it.
I've seen it, and you know what? I've even listened to it. Okay, but I'm going to play this one for a moment while I run to the bathroom, and then I will try to I'll try to do the other one. Oh, the Swami's still here. I didn't realize he didn't know that he could just leave. I think this is his first time on StreamYard. Okay, so here we go. Let's play this. I'll be right back. Everybody sit through that. Exactly. All right. So I'm going to stop the share here. Holly's back. All right. So I want to thank everybody who has, tuned in to the show, to the marathon. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And also my Patreon is patreon.com/notmyrabbithole. So if you want to support me there and the Tere Joyce College Fund and my media here, and also hollywoodhampers@gmail.com if you want to give me a one-time donation on PayPal, and then also the script here. I've got Venmo. I even have Cash App too, but I don't have that listed yet. So there's different ways to support me here on Not My Rabbit Hole. I'm kind of going through I don't know, like a shift, creatively, and how I'm approaching things. And this is my second channel because I lost my first one. I'm curious about, like, I'm not necessarily happy with what I have in terms of my visual for the channel. Like I have the rabbit with the OK sign, but people go, that's the 666, and it's the rabbit hole. I'm trying to make a pun on it, like that's what the rabbit hole really is. But then, like, some people have seen that picture and said, oh, you're a Satanist or you're Luciferian because you're doing that sign. I don't think they get the humor of it, or they don't get my intent. It's not their fault. So I don't blame it on other people for not understanding what I put it out there. But if I realize that there's a group of people that aren't getting something, then I got to come up with a different design. So I don't know. I'm just like, if anybody in the chat wants to say, hey, change it, or even another idea, maybe I'll just say, this is this one, and then I'll put up another one and ask people to see if they like it better. Maybe that's how I'll approach it. So Nate and Holly, you guys are both, discovered in life that your life wasn't what you thought it was. You kind of like woke up to, hey, I think I've been in a program, and I've been used by the military. I'm a super soldier. And I want to go back with Holly on the fact that you say that the special abilities are actually demonic and not, something that is like psychic or something else. That the powers that you're getting is coming from another source rather than technology or contact with aliens.
Well, I think it's technology too, but it's a combination of them. I'm probably getting my butt kicked from the super soldier community for that. But I mean, that's not to say but as now that I'm thinking about what I said, not to backtrack, but I do know people that have been born with psychic abilities. Like they were born with gifts. So I think that is a possibility that the government comes along, or the military comes along and abuses those psychic abilities. But for the most part, I would have to say all those superpowers come from demonic possession, because I surely can't do that stuff now in this normal life that I have. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm actually typing something really quick too, because somebody said, I'm just redoing they're asking about my Patreon. You can always go to patreon.com /Not My Rabbit Hole. And if you do become a subscriber or member, I say thank you, that you welcome aboard. And, thanks for supporting, my journey here in exploring what's going on. I don't know, like my thought is about life is like we say, well, you take what you're able to do, what you're good at, and you try to do something that makes things. I think this discussion is important, or the topic of, because I'm not a UFO experiencer, although I have had certain experiences that I'm trying to make sense of that I guess I could say was a UFO experience. There was one time where I saw it was weird. It was like I was it's almost like I felt like I was being communicated with, and I felt a sense of fear. Like I felt all of a sudden I felt afraid of something. I was outside. I was in Estacada, Oregon, and then I had this feeling like, well, if you're afraid of us, you're not going to be able to see us. And I said, okay, I'm not afraid. And then I just saw this light, like this thing, like it was like a craft that went and zipped like that. And it was like a round circle. Like it went like way fast and shot up like that. And I went, whoa, So I will say I had an experience like that. I also had, and I don't know how to explain it, but I had an experience where I was driving to do a gig. I was actually doing a gig at a was a doctor's office, and the doctor had opened up in Hollywood, and it was called the Berkeley Clinic at the time, but it became the Hollywood Walk-In Clinic. And the doctor had a walk-in clinic for people who didn't have insurance that he opened up for, but he also did it for, at the time, we only had medical marijuana. So he did medical marijuana recommendations as well as a doctor. So that was his thing. And we were hired. I was doing a show, 3-woman show called Mary Jane Says. It was just kind of like, there was this like thing like Mary Jane's, but it was about women. We were women comics talking about cannabis is basically what it was. And one of the comedians I had on the show her name was January Thomas. And there was another girl that was on the show. Laura Levitas was her name. And so I was driving. I lived at the time near Fountain and Sweetser, which is Fountain's a really well-known street that runs parallel to Sunset Boulevard and Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood, basically. It goes West Hollywood into down farther to I don't know, like LA, basically. Anyway, I'm driving to go to the club, and the date was 10/10/10. Right? Okay. Yeah. You're laughing at that. Okay. And I saw a big gush. It was weird. It was like a big gush of light, like it rolled in almost like fog, but really fast. Came from like, you're approaching the intersection, and when you turn your head, I looked down, I saw this light coming in. And then I saw the light flash like red, green, red, like real fast, like red, green, red, like it was like boom, 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 boom. Like it was like the light did something weird, the traffic light. And then I went right through it, like as if I went through like I zoomed through like I don't know. It was almost like I went through not a tunnel, but a portal or something. It was really weird. Okay. I mean, I went, what the hell was that? And then I just kept driving, and I still felt like it was really real. Like it was okay. Like, it wasn't normal. So it happens, it's 10/10/10. I'm thinking in my head, right? I'm just like, I got to get to this, gig. And there was a guy there. Okay. And I gotta say too, we were standing in a circle, which you know what a circle can do, right? One of the persons there was a person that I knew that was a witch. Okay. Now let me just throw that out there. All right. So there was a friend of mine that was a witch. And at that time, when people were witches around me, this is 2010, I'm not in the UFO community. I'm starting to get interested in UFOs, but I'm nowhere, and, if someone said that they were a witch, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I just, I didn't really I'd be like, okay, yeah, right. Like I just, and so she was there. Now, later on, she ended up becoming an enemy. Okay.
Okay. Pay attention.
Right. Okay. But this is before all of that. Okay. And so she's in the circle, and there was a guy that I met the night before that was a musician that was at this other club that I was that had kind of an occult thing going to, but I didn't realize it was it's called the Peace Store. And all the people were like into, like one of the persons there was like tarot and this and that, like, cause that's very much part of like down that area. Right. I found like after living there at a certain amount of time, like those kind of people that you bumped into was just kind of, you would think of things like, well, this is normal. Kind of thing. And so we're in the circle. There was another comedian named Mike McDonald, who's a Canadian comedian that I was a fan of when I was starting comedy, because he had like a special on Showtime that I thought was hilarious. He passed away now. He's not alive anymore. And the guy from the night before came over. I think he was kind of enamored with me, to be honest with you, and a little bit. So he had shown up, and we were in this circle, And this guy started talking to me about gay marriage or something like that. And at the time, politically, I supported gay marriage, and I had done fundraising for Equality California. And I argued with him, and then he brought in God. And at the time, I don't have the same feeling that I know. I don't believe in the question that I questioned him. But I said something like, well, how do we know that God isn't an alien? Okay. And when I said that, the lights went on and off. Ooh. Swear to God. Ooh. Swear to God. Oh, okay. And so the lights went on the same night I go through the light thing. The lights go on and off, and then everybody, and everybody goes, oh, in the circle. We were all in a circle, and everybody like did a big gasp, and the witch said, cool, like that.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Right in Hollywood. Right?
Wow.
Right there. Yeah. It was just a weird thing. And then I told a friend of mine who I was dating that later on has told me that he is from an Illuminati family and he's reptilian. Wrap your brain around that. At that time, I didn't even hardly know what reptilians were, right? And when I told him that I'd gone through that light and that had happened, he freaked out kind of on it. And he goes, so who are you doing that with? And I go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What do you mean? Who am I doing it? You're obviously doing it with somebody. And I go, what? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know this area. I don't work with light, or something like that. I remember him saying that to me, and he goes, there might be a support group of people that might know something like this, that deal with like light energies and things like that. I don't know. And then he said, have you ever been abducted? He goes, he goes, what if they, they can take you out and look at you and do things and then put you right back in and you wouldn't even know that it happened. He goes, has the cat ever gone, like, have you ever seen a glitch in the Matrix? Did you ever see the cat go by 3 times or twice?
I've seen it with an airplane.
Right?
I do not.
And
when
I
I
was
was
like,
leaving Maryland, there was an airplane that was just stuck in one spot. I was so close to pulling over to the highway to take a picture, but I was just so happy to be getting out of Maryland and coming home to Jersey. I couldn't. I was like, forget it. Who cares about the glitch? Get me home.
Right. I've always thought that there was, like weird things like that happened, to me, but I'm like, oh yeah, that, that weird thing happened. Yeah. I don't know how to explain. Like one time my friend took a picture. We were working on a movie. It was called Dirty Jokes, the movie. And it was, the Vic Dunlap and the unknown comic, the guy from the Gong Show that wore the paper bag over his head.
Oh,
okay. It was called Dirty Jokes, the movie. And I was wearing different hats, I was a script supervisor. I was part of casting. I was thrown into all these different parts, and so, they were like little vignettes. That was going on. And there was one, and Kato Kaelin from the OJ trial. He's in the movie, right? Okay. Let me just I've had an interesting life. All right. So we're doing this sketch piece, and we're that song, Swing Low, Swing Chariot, coming for the okay. That we were doing, and look, this is the part about it that's weird, right? And I wasn't happy. I was I felt hashtag Me Too. Okay, let's just say I was having a hashtag Me Too kind of experience on that set. All right, and while I was having the hashtag Me Too experience, the person that was doing it to me, or that I was going through with, was when we were doing the bet, was kind of like reprimanding me or controlling me in it. And looking back, because it was affecting me inside myself internally. And then my friend, who's a photographer, took a picture of us doing, the bit, as a still. And around me, there was an apparition in the picture.
Wow.
Okay. And my friend goes, there's something in the photo and I can't explain it. And I go, he goes, because he was a photographer, the light, and I have the photos somewhere. And it kind of it weirds me out because I'm thinking, what is that? What is that? Is that an entity near me? Is it, you know? And some people would go, oh, it's just part of you. I go, no, I don't think it is part of me.
They follow
you. And my thought is, is that was in the state of mind that I was in, like, because I felt kind of like, oh, we lost him.
Oh, Nate, I wanted to say I was so happy to see you, but hopefully you'll come back so I can say that.
Oh, here he's back. He must have just lost me. Yay, he's back. He's like he blinked out and reappeared. Okay.
Sorry, I pushed the wrong button.
Oh, that's okay. But those are just kind of like my stories of things that like have been, and I've even had times in my life. Look, this is trippy too. I was at a bar in Pasadena called the Colorado Bar, and it was my birthday. It was my 35th birthday, and I was feeling really bummed out because I'm like, oh, I'm 35, and I was feeling like, I hadn't reached where I should be at 35 and whatever, right? And this guy said to me, this is going to be trippy, all right? And I'm not saying I am, all right? But this guy said to me, I collect angels. He was playing at the pool table, and it struck my ear because my mom really loves angels and everything. And so he says, I collect angels. And I said, the real ones or the figurines? And he goes, real ones. And I said, well, have you ever seen an angel before? And he goes, yeah. He says, I'm an angel. And then he said, I'm an angel. And then he said, this is the part I don't want to carry, but that's really happened. He said, and so are you. That's what he said. So are you. And he says, some angels are in human bodies, or they're on earth. And he goes, and you don't think that we would be hanging out in a bar like this, but we would be. And he said something like, I said, oh my God, it's my birthday today. And he says, yeah, and I'm here to tell you that you're okay. Okay. And then I said, will I see you? I said, what's your name? He says, my name is Gabriel, but I have another name. And then he said, and his accent was something I couldn't define. And then he said something like, I go, will I see you again? He goes, you see me now? You've seen me and you know me in the past, and I'm with you always. That happened to me. Now, I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up. So when I say like we go, well, we should I've had some trippy stuff happen. Now, you can say people.
It's hard to get an angel to tell you its name. If an angel tells you its name, there's supposed to be something good about that. I'm not sure what it is, but you got them to. If you get an angel to say its name, I guess you get some sort of extra blessing out of it. That's really cool, Terry.
Yeah, I hardly ever said it, but I told my mom, I wrote about it. I wrote it down on paper when it had happened.
Wow.
But I didn't, I didn't and you know what? I had I'll tell you another experience I've had. And this is the hardest part of it all, that I'm where I wonder what is it have I accomplished it? But I had a friend of mine who knew me since I was about 23 years old. I took a waitress job at a place called Conrad's Restaurant in Pasadena, and he would come in as a customer. And he was a lifelong friend until he passed away. And right before he passed away, he was wanting, it didn't happen, he died before he finished the paperwork, unfortunately, because he was wanting to give me his liquid assets because he knew he was going to die. And he told me this. He says, you know what? I've always wondered what you could accomplish if you had the money and the means to do it. And he goes, I'm dying. He told me that. He says, I want you to come over and talk to me. And I said, oh, okay. And this was it was about 2009. It was 2009. And he said, he goes, he told me two stories. Two stories he told me, but this is the one that really got me. He says, I had a moment where my pacemaker went off, and I fell against the fence, and how you start seeing things, you get flashes, you start thinking, he goes, well, I saw some stuff about you. And I said, yeah. And he says, and this is what gets me. And I don't think it's just me. It's not just me. I don't think it's a collective thing. But he said, you're going to do something that's going to change human history. And I said, what? He says, yeah, you don't know that. He says, but you've been chosen. Like, that's what he told me, like, flat out. Like, like, you are supposed to do something. This is something big. It's not little. It's like Gandhi is what he said. And I'm like, holy crap. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like sitting there, like, I didn't say holy crap, but it's like, and there were things that were going on at that time. Like, I had gotten in that raid at that medical marijuana dispensary. Like, what had been in the paper about cannabis. Like, my life turned into a direction that went in an area that I wasn't expecting. So I was trying to figure, well, what is it? And then he died, and then I didn't get the funds, right? And life has been a struggle, but I do feel that whatever it is that I'm supposed to do has something to do with communication, has something to do with, like, doing a podcast, doing a radio, doing a show, writing a book, making jokes about things that tell the truth to people. That I think that that's my contribution, whatever that is, to whatever degree it is. I hope that I don't fail my mission while I'm still alive right here, that whatever it was that I was supposed to do, or I'm in the process of doing, that I actually, like, complete the task. So I feel like in my life, like I have a mission. Like, this lifetime is not just random, and that no matter, like, how anybody views me, like, they could go, oh, well, she's, failed comedian, she's this and that, and blah, 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 and we hate her, and whatever else is, like, happening, like, don't ever think that, in the Bible it says, it's not, you can't take this stuff with us. It's not, the whole thing is not being like evaluating each other on the material world, even though we need to have the material to be able to exist in the world, and do, you have to have it because this is a material existence.
Well, I would have to say I agree with that, man, that you were telling us about, because I know that you're a comedian and you do stuff, on your own. But when it comes to, like, my MK Ultra world, you've made a difference because you've woken people up, and it just makes things easier for me because now I have people I can turn to and talk to when I'm having a bad day. So you brought a lot of awareness, and that's a lot of comfort. So I agree with that guy.
My friend, his name was Nick Pratt. So just like, I think maybe I just say his name, Pratt, Pratt, Nick Pratt. He actually was, he played bass with Ike and Tina Turner.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, like, just to throw that out there too. So, I mean, he was an interesting guy, he also he ended up also working as, on the staff for, he was for a school that was there in the John Muir High School, I think it was, that he was affiliated with for when I met him. But it's just interesting, like what might be going on. I do think there is, there are programs, and people have handlers, and like, I feel that I've had handlers, in my life, and, associated with entertainment, and they're still, they're still in my life, like, they're not gone, I mean, like, our relationships take different forms, but I feel that you don't get to work, like, there's a control system on information. on the media. You're wanted to fall in line with the agenda. If you are an entertainer, or if you are a writer, or you whatever it is that you're doing, I really think that the media controls or tries to control the minds of the masses.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like we're talking about fiction books where people are writing about reptilians and this and that. The fiction becomes like a reality. Like and when you think about it, words are spells.
Yeah.
It's spelling. So, no matter like what you think you're, like you say, well, I'm not a witch, I'm not practicing witchcraft, but the very fact that you're spelling, letters means that everybody in some way, what we say sometimes becomes real because that's how you manifest. We manifest what we say and think.
Now that you said that, I had something flash in my head, and I've been people doxed me and gave away my home location online, and then they were gang stalking me as I hiked my dog through the park. They would hide in the hedgerow and the bushes, and then jump out at me and tried to set up certain situations to make it look like I was doing something wrong. But anyway, they have one of these above ground pools and whatnot. And I'm not a vengeful and spiteful person, but these people really, really dug a grave for me with all their gang stalking and threats. It drove me nuts. And it was so bad, I went through extreme weight loss. Well, anyway, I don't wish anything bad, but there were so many times that, I wish that God would expose them and God would have his wrath. Well, today I was walking by their property because it borders the park where I hike my dog. And wouldn't you know it, I don't know how it happened, but the whole side of their above ground pool has a big, huge hole in it, and it's totally broken. The pool's completely ruined. And I felt really bad because I had often thought, what would it be like if a branch fell on their pool? And boy, they've really treated me poorly. And today, with their pool damaged, and I know they can't use it anymore.
So you're like, oops.
Yeah, I was like, God, I'm really sorry. Because I repented when I thought of it, and I would never do anything bad. But yeah, today I was like, God, I got to repent because I feel like they got what they deserved.
I had an experience like that once where there was a girl that was doing a karaoke contest, another witch that came to live with me, and when I was in Estacada, and there was a bar there, and she was just like, I'm gonna flash my boobs and this and that, I'm gonna win this contest and everything like, she's like, and she goes, I'm gonna manifest. She says, I'm gonna write it right down right now and put it on the wall. And I started praying against it. I was like, please God, please do not let this woman win, please. I'm sorry. She has a nasty attitude, like, whatever. And I was like, against it in my head, right? And she goes, well, if I come home early, then you'll know that I lost. But, if I'm out later, then you can assume that I'm because it was like the price was like $500 or whatever. And she came home early. Okay. And then, so it gets worse. So then I said, so how did it go? And she goes, I don't know. The weirdest thing happened to me that didn't happen to anybody else. But the machine stopped right in the middle of my singing. And I was like, like that, and she goes, and I couldn't even recover, and I was just, and I went, holy crap. And I went back and I prayed about it again. I go, oh my God, I got to be careful. That was just like not like, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that, I was like, ooh, but, yeah, you got to be careful. That's the whole thing we're talking about. Like, when they go with psychic, super solder thing, using your psychic powers.
Oh, I
right?
have nothing to do with that.
Or God or whatever. But I know. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, but if I figured that if you prayed about it to God, right, then God made the decision, right? He did it. He was like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to pull that plug. So Nate, what do you think about that? Have you had any,
Well, I think the men that stare at goats thing might be demonic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder about that, where they make the goat's heart explode or have a heart attack.
Well, it's interesting, I think the guy who did the men who stare at goats, he died of a heart problem. Like, because he did it, his karma was his own heart. I think that some people don't really know that. And if you watch the movie saves the goats. So the movie takes his character and makes his character have a redeeming thing of him saving the goats. I think there was, like, after he had done it, there was an element of remorse on the person's part of doing it.
Yeah, Michael Aquino had an explanation for the goats falling over. There's a species of goat that just falls over for no reason. And that's like just what the goat does. You could be wrong.
But they already did a documentary on it. Like, it really did die. It wasn't like, it was like the goat fell over. And it's kind of interesting that Aquino, I won't call him Aquino because I'm not going to give him that honor. I think, I'm not a man. I'm sorry, but I'm not a fan of the man. All right. I'm just not. And you know what? He needs to, like, do something about his eyebrows if he's still alive. Right? I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, you won your court case, but that still doesn't, just because you won your court case doesn't mean that you got it, that you're not guilty or someone's not guilty. And you all win your court cases. Every single damn one of you that have a court case that's around that topic, around with the occultism that we're talking about, you guys always walk away. Why? Because there's satanic panic. That's your argument. That's your defense. It's satanic panic defense is the same as the Twinkie defense, practically. Only the Twinkie defense is now, like, more laughed at. But it's like, okay, I shouldn't have said that. So scratch that. Did I just say that? I don't want to lose my channel. But it's like, so we'll move on.
I actually met a girl who had Michael Aquino's, like, text on her phone. I looked at her phone and I saw her phone, and it had text messages to Michael Aquino. And I was like, holy crap, Michael Aquino?
Who is this? Had the phone? Who?
It was some girl I met.
Okay.
I didn't know her very long.
And she was texting with Michael Aquino.
Yeah, I looked at her phone. And she was doing text messages with Michael Aquino.
Wow. Well, hey.
Yeah, I asked her if she was in the Temple of Set, and she said she was Catholic or something. I think she was lying. And I wondered if she kept up with all the Michael Aquino stuff. When he supposedly died, I sent her a text asking her if she knew if Michael Aquino died or not, and she claimed she didn't know anything about it. But I've heard rumors that he died. He could have faked his death. I don't know.
You don't think he's died? I find it just interesting that he, like, you would think somebody who was like a general, or what is it, general, lieutenant colonel. Okay. You would think that someone of his stature would have been a public death. That there would have been there would be a definite knowledge, especially the fact that he's been on Oprah. I mean, it's interesting that he's been on Oprah. He was on Geraldo Rivera. There's that famous picture of him with Anton LaVey and Sammy Davis Jr., wedged between the two of them, like he has a notorious mix on things. And he's somebody that plays out in this super soldier forum situation. Like maybe people aren't talking about him as, see, Mario Taco says, aha, I remember that dude. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Revolution Radio, with Douglas Dietrich being on the network, because my show was like right before Douglas's on Saturday nights for a couple years. And then, I remember when Christine Hart started to go on Douglas Dietrich's show, and Max was a regular. The Super Soldier program was a prominent, and even more had a show on the network when I was on it. It was a big deal at that time, and it was big before I even joined it. And then you had Michael Hemmingson, who had the Confessions of a Former White Hat blog that ended up, he literally died the day before I think I joined the network, or apparently his death had happened. Like right recently before I joined Revolution Radio. Then Lorian Fenton, everybody, Lorian Fenton was part of the marketing for Revolution Radio, and she put that Henderson, Nevada Super Soldier event that had, had James Casbolt and Max, and Miles was there, and Sarah was there, and I think even Haley Myers was in that event, because I've seen a picture recently that looks like Haley's there as well with James at that time. And that's when those first two interviews happened. So there's definitely a link to Michael Aquino with all of this. Douglas Dietrich claims to be Michael Aquino's librarian, at Presidio Air Force Base. Is it military base or Air Force Base? I think it's military. But when Douglas Dietrich claims, I watched a video, one of his interviews, where he claims, and again, allegedly, this is what they say, he says that Michael Aquino was in charge of that particular Super Soldier Summit event that happened, that he was at the helm of it, and Lorian Fenton was working underneath him, and then Lorian Fenton was recording him as well to be part of putting together that Super Soldier program. So, and then you have when Max Spears passed away, you have what he was saying about Aquino before he passed away. So there's this kind of like, there's a definite connection between that man and the program itself. In its conspiracy, if you want to go there and say whether it's real or not, he is definitely associated with it.
Well,
and I think he knew the man who was in the military that created that sect of the military, that the men in the movie, the men who stare at goats, because it is based on a true story. There's the character that Jeff Bridges plays in the movie is a real guy, and there was a connection between them and Aquino, a knowledge of each other.
If I ever had interactions with that man in the Dumbs, I probably would never talk about it. Just for some reason, that man strikes fear in me. I know other people say that, he's a big, gentle powder puff. He's fine. He wouldn't hurt a fly, but I don't know. If I had seen him in the Dumbs, I'd probably be someone that wouldn't talk about him. There's a couple of programmers I might feel like that about.
Evie from my forum says that she was forced to go through rituals with him or something.
Well, James Casbolt mentions him a lot. And the thing that gets me, and I want to be careful about going into this topic, is just try to work in code words here, but James Casbolt, because there's such a hunt on YouTube, like this is not like in terms of like promoting things or talking about things, like you could talk about this topic on other channels a lot easier. It's really been clamped down. I'd actually I asked Sean Atwood if he wanted to come on to the show today, and he sent me an email back and said that he couldn't. He wasn't at his home today. So
Sean Atwood?
Huh?
Is he a prankster?
No, Sean Atwood has a channel, a true crime show on YouTube. Pretty big following.
Okay.
He's based in the UK, and his story is that he was a big ecstasy kingpin, dealer over here in the United States in Arizona. And he got busted, and he was, put into one of the worst types of prisons here at the border that was run by Sheriff Arpaio before he got sent to prison, and then Trump pardoned him. Okay, Sheriff Arpaio, Sean Atwood ended up writing a book about it too, and they've done then he got like a documentary about his life and this and that. And so Sean Atwood runs like a true crime podcast kind of show. And he covers like Jimmy Savile, which is like, one of the documentaries on Netflix that I just finished watching last night, which is good, by the way, but that's a whole nother topic to talk about. But, Jimmy Savile, he's interviewed David Icke too on his channel, although I don't know if he's able to keep it up there, but his channel got taken down. He was doing a lot of coverage on Jeffrey Epstein. As a matter of fact, I think what he did when he went really viral was he had the phone. He got the black book or something like that, and their phone numbers, and he was dialing or something he was doing something with the black book that made people go nuts, in the way he was uncovering it. And I mean, he was doing well then, but he really bumped up. And I got in contact with him after Sandra DeRoy and Taj, all right, went on his show and talked about Max, all right, and then Sandra DeRoy made me aware of Daddygate. And when I looked at Daddygate, it was this, it was a whole thing of kind of like a smear campaign against Sean Atwood, but some people think he's guilty. There was this woman named Callie Diamond that was on his show that was talking about being trafficked, basically. And there's another person named Androgyne that has a channel. And Androgyne was, calling Sean and them out for being scammers, and did something with the GoFundMe that was helping her get an apartment and this and that. And so Sean made these prank videos to make it look like he was grooming Callie Diamond, and that they were doing porn videos and snorting coke and talking about all this stuff that was completely fake. And he dropped it on the internet to let Androgyne talk about it. And then Androgyne and him made a friend. They made up. But at one point, he got his entire channel taken down because he said you could no longer talk about at all on YouTube without having it taken down or anything like that. And he got busted. He can no longer talk about Epstein on his channel, hardly. One of the things, even though it was a trial in the public, part of like why he got, to my knowledge, got slapped on the hand was for even talking about that. And that's how restrictive YouTube has become about talking about this. That's why, like, why does Carrie Cassidy get her channel taken down? Why does Miles get their channel taken down? Why is Miles putting footage from the drunken video from Max Spears that he recorded when he was drunk? Why is he taking that footage and putting it on Brightian.com and not his own YouTube channel? Because the things that Max are talking about at that time in terms of the elite and their practices can no longer really be discussed on YouTube anymore.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
No.
Because why wouldn't he be capitalizing on that on his own channel? Why is it buried on something that's going to get like 60 views in 3 weeks?
Right.
I use Rumble now as well as YouTube.
But Rumble is the hate speech channel. So when you go on, first of all, when you're on Rumble, like YouTube is one of the has I think like the second or third largest search engine. Beyond, I mean, we're talking search engine. So you're not, when you have something on YouTube, you have way better algorithms than you do them. You have Rumble or BitChute or any of those types of channels that sprouted up. That a lot of the people that we're talking about, what could even be considered 17th of the letter of the alphabet topics, because it doesn't matter if you associate yourself with the 17th letter of the alphabet. If you talk about a topic that's under their umbrella, or you're refusing a booster or something like that, then you are automatically not taking it or whatever. They already, the media, the mainstream media went, that's a 17th letter of the alphabet person. And that's medical misinformation, and you're a hater, and you're this, and you might even be a Christian. And so it's all lumped into and you know what? That is something that I kept telling people when they went 17th letter of the alphabet crazy. I said, this is what's going to happen. This is how the media is going to use it. It's just a game. It's just a game. It's a way to be marginalized and told, well, that's just a conspiracy. And that's hate speech. And we need to take your YouTube channel down because of it. Mm-hmm. The things that I got in trouble for on my channel were things that I had done on American Freedom Radio, which was perfectly okay to talk about at that time during the 2016 election and WikiLeaks and all that stuff. That you can no longer discuss anymore. And even though we have now things like Hunter Biden's laptop has now been confirmed as being real later on, even though if you were to be talking or discussing any of those types of things as being also, like you go, well, Russiagate is conspiracy, right? If you were to say, well, they're just covering up what's in the WikiLeaks and blah, 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 and what's going on with Seth Rich, if you talked about any of that stuff and questioned it, covered it, or, made it look like something that started with something that you slice and you get delivered at your house in less than 30 minutes, gate, then you were going to be removed from YouTube. And look what happened to David Icke. And then again, where does that go to? Well, oh no, it's not just people the elite being corrupt like that, but it's actually extraterrestrial. And so, you can draw the line to there. And then so, do people know why David Icke isn't on anymore, on YouTube? Was it because of the fact that he did give, you gave out medical misinformation, we're going to cut him off right now. But he basically goes to the reptiles and the royals being reptiles. Mm-hmm. Right?
I didn't know they banned him. I never believed him anyway. But...
yeah. He got banned, I think last year, early on in the pandemic, he got cut off. Look what's going on with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, rides the line. And has guests that are talking. He's had David Icke on his show. Look at Russell Brand. He does. I mean, they're bigger names. They probably stay because they make money. Right? They get a little bit of a pass because they make money, but they still get shit. And especially the walkout that they try to pull on the Spotify stuff. Well, Neil Young's gonna back out after because Joe Rogan's on there and he's actually talking about things that are gonna physically harm people. The mainstream media painting him as racist. They will do whatever they can to knock down the conversation that you're having, including taking anybody who talks about Aquino or any of this. automatically put yourself into, well, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
David Icke is right about the possession of demons, reptilians with human bodies.
Yeah, I never really believed David Icke. At least not the majority of it. I think he's out to make a lot of money. I don't know how, but he's made a lot of money off of his conspiracies.
I have heard people from the inside of the entertainment business say things like, you know, there is an agenda to indoctrinate people with the possibility of reptilians. You know, so that because they want people to know that that's actually part of our reality. I've heard that on the inside, that is like, you know, it's like when the media is also responsible for our attitude shifts about a lot of things that are going on politically. You know, even surrounding gender and sexuality and all of that the media is responsible of creating characters in movies that depict it so that people will become socialized and more and even like, you know, and it could go in a good way too. Like, let's not be racist. You know, there's a great movie called Crash that really deals with racism. One of the most beautiful scripts ever, you know, that really deals with it, you know, showing the flaws of each person and their viewpoints, but some of the characters actually evolve past it. And I think that's how we have to, like, for me, that's what I think, that we have to look at each other as people, is that we stop holding like a person who was maybe had a racist viewpoint at one point may actually grow and say, oh, I see what I've done wrong. And they're able to like let go and grow. And I don't think that we are allowing, you know, ourselves or, you know, like the media doesn't try to like make people understand each other and be better people and forgive each other and like really make a difference, really have a realization, because that does happen to people. We don't celebrate that. There's more of an agenda to keep us separated, because if we're separated, then we can't unify against the shit that's being done to us. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think is going on.
Yep.
You know?
I agree with you.
Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, so what we got here? The topic with the elite and the occult is more complicated. There's tons of secrets on how they work and how they take power. Yes. And I agree with that. And you know, I'm like, again, I am no expert on everything about the occult, but I do know now a lot of things about the occult that I didn't know before. And part of it starts with what the experience that I had in living with LA and living with a couple of witches who fucked me over in the end, because that's what they were supposed to do. Okay. Which I think, you know, it's like, oh, you came to me and now you fucked me. Okay. And, you know, third time not happening. Never living with a witch again. If you're a witch, we will never be roommates. You know, I was like, don't come to my party. You know, it's like, I mean, you know, I try not to like, you know, have like a lot, you know, like I try not to be a hater, you know, or whatever, but you know, there was a time where I was looking into it. You know, I read like the Kabbalion, the 3 Initiates one afternoon, you know, from the witch roommate that gave it to me. You know, I mean, it, you know, there are times where, you know, I you know, I never got a cloak or nothing like that. But, you know, I didn't go that far. But there were times where, I mean, it wasn't like I didn't know things and, you know, I didn't learn them in time about stuff, but I'm not an expert. But you know, when people say, well, is that going on in Hollywood? Absolutely. They even do jokes about it. You know, yeah. Well, I'm talking about the occult. You know, I'm talking about witchcraft. Are there witches in Hollywood? Yeah, of course there are. Like, you know, I mean, like I've told you, like when I was like, yeah, this witch, we were living here, we were there. You know, I went to this party and they were all doing this. You know, it's like that. It at some point it becomes normal to you. Because you're living in the environment. Oh yeah, they do tea leaves, and you know, like this person does this and this person does that, blah blah blah. You know, it's not like you know, like where I'm at now. There, you know, I'm sure it still exists. It exists everywhere. It's everywhere. All right, the buildings, the you know, the Masonic stuff, you know, is you know the alchemy that gets done. I mean, alchemy, the sciences are really alchemy. I mean, like you can, it goes everywhere, you know, as part of the knowledge of creating reality, you know. And so there lies, to me, that's where the battle is. It's not interpersonal. It's really, you know, something beyond, you know, when you talk about the battle between, you know, the good and the light, or God and Satan, or, you know, however you're you know, that battle is taking place probably more now than ever in humanity. And then most people don't even really realize that it's based in things that they have no knowledge about. So if you have no knowledge about it, how do you know how to deal with it?
Right.
I talk to people that are into occult stuff. Not big into it.
Yeah, I know some things. I don't, like today I'm more revealing things about myself than I normally do, you know, because I never
The actress for
sometimes things are around you, but you don't pay attention to it for a while. Like you think it's not, you think, oh, it's, you know, there's not really. For a long time I didn't believe there was a Satan or a devil, or, you know, I thought, you know, I went into, like, I was raised a Christian. I was like a born again Christian when I was a child. I accepted Christ, and then when I moved to LA, like when I moved to LA, I got more and more decadent. You know, more and more open-minded to other things. You know, went in a direction of ways that I wasn't. When I was 18 years old, in between 18 and 35, there was a lot that happened there. You know, like in terms of like what I got into. And, you know, there is a part when you start working, you know, where you lose a little bit of your morality, a little bit of like, you know, oh, well, you know, it might be okay if I showed my boobs in this movie. It might be okay if I, you know, like if I do nudity. It might be okay if I do, you know, depict this type of character, that type of character, not really thinking about what is that doing to the consciousness of the rest of what you create. You know, not thinking about, not taking any responsibility. And I think about things like how we were indoctrinated with like Brooke Shields, you know, right? Like that was like my generation, you know, where when I was that age, I was seeing little girls being depicted like that and thinking that that was normal. But that in and of itself was a jump in I think an agenda of where we're at today, because had we not had television, then that kind of image or that sexualization of a child would never have been pushed to us so much. And then, and you know, that way, because that was her big debut, was that Brooke Shields played a child's prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I remember that. That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago, you know, but then like looking back, I look at things and I go, God, look how this got slipped in here. Who does that? Who is responsible? Like what wizard is behind the curtain that in Hollywood that makes those decisions, that those are the kind of scripts that are going to get green lighted. And who is in the network of being involved in disseminating those images and that into our collective, that objectification of an 11-year-old or a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Come on. Women are objectified anyways, and now men are becoming objectified. The last few things I've watched on Netflix, you know, like you're like, damn, they make the guys all buff, and you know, they're the older women, like Renee Zellweger's playing like this, like Faustian kind of female character, where you know she's making a deal with this other younger woman that wants to get ahead, and you know she wants to sell her pharmaceuticals to cure cancer. And you know, she says, "Well, I want to have one night with. I'm going to have access to your husband. Your husband is my bitch." Well, she didn't say it like that, but okay.
Wow.
But then you know, there's all these scenes where the guy takes his shirt off, and it's like, you know, it's like Magic Mike. You know, it's he's like, whoa. He's like, and you know, these shots of the man and his, you know, all of it, and like, who is this for? Like there is a difference. Now men are the bitches. You know? Like,
yes.
right?
Score.
You know? Look at it. I'm talking like now men are the bitches. Like, you know, but look, it's like, but that's not right either, is it? It's not. I mean, you know, you think, you know, I feel sometimes like a man that doesn't like, you know, that's really like, yeah, I'm going to strip, you know.
I don't like them.
Right. Okay. I used to like it. I've dated some strippers before. Okay, men. I'm talking about male stripper. I've actually had a few evenings out with male strippers before. Okay, you know, but because I was, you know, I have a level of a decadent past, you know, but. What is that thing in the Bible? Like when I was a child, I did childish things, but when you become an adult, you let go of your childish ways. You know, like you think about like you know, the evolution of female sexuality. That's a whole nother conversation in my era, because like, you know, when I was growing up, you know, guess who my role models were? Well, it was, you know, Mary Tyler Moore Show. You know, you had these female characters that were going into the workplace and, you know, like the pill, the birth control pill, and the acceptance of a promiscuous lifestyle. And, you know, this whole shift, and, you know, that even like you look at Hugh Hefner even played in that shift alongside Brooke Shields, right? So there's something that happened with media, with women, that made women become even less human, more objectified. And then, you know, then you have pornography as the standard of what your body should look like and how you should be coiffed, shaved, or whatever. You know, like, why do you think everybody had to shave pubis after that? Well, that's how many people are watching pornography.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I actually used to, I actually did one, what's it called? Modeling show, runway show.
Oh yeah,
which is
I know.
not the same as stripping.
Right.
Yeah, I gave it a go. I tried being a runway model.
You did?
Yeah.
Like, I did too when I was young. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to be a model because I wasn't tall enough, you know. But I was in this thing called High Deb in high school. And it was like I got picked out of the high school to do like a couple runway shows, you know. And but it wasn't, you know, like modeling. You have to have a very specific type of body and look that you know, not a whole lot of people. My brother did a little modeling, you know, but he's tall. He's, you know, like 6'2". So he had, you know, so, but the modeling world, look where that's gone to. Like what they've done to the girls, have taken them to other countries. And, you know, Jean-Luc Brunel, where's he now? Right? Oh, he didn't kill himself either, you know, and his link to Epstein, Victoria's Secret's linked to Epstein. Like, it's just like the beauty pageants, it's and then we're getting into Eyes Wide Shut, basically, right? Yeah. So it's not pretty. There's so much more going on that people think that, it's not like Tyra Banks is depicting it. It's not like just anybody can be, the girl that got discovered in the Dairy Queen was murdered, like by her husband after she, was a Playboy model. It's like it's like, I really think, and if I knew what I know now before I had gone into the world I went into, I may not have ever gone into the world. And then I probably would have had a viewpoint that I would automatically have been a no-go. So they wouldn't even considered me at this point. I think I got up pretty far up to the door, because I had been on Last Comic Standing. I did have that big exposure that way. And I was on an NBC show, and I didn't test market well, because in the end, they knew I wasn't one of them. I really believe that. Like, I was literally ready and on the way to get that huge big career, like where I would be at the Academy Awards right now. And I don't say that to be conceited. I really was I literally was at least an Emmy, at least going to the Emmys, right? Because even our show was nominated for the Emmys that year. I didn't go, but I was on the show that got nominated. So there was that precipice that I didn't walk through. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't. And people go, oh, how could you be glad? Because I'm still sitting here talking. If the things that they say are happening, like they say are happening in Hollywood, I wouldn't be down with it. Yeah. And if I knew for sure that I had witnessed to something like that, they'd probably kill me. Maybe. If that's what they were doing. So, and there are a lot of things that they do in terms of movies and films that I don't agree with. And I don't agree with the media right now. I don't agree with CNN. And I feel manipulated and I feel lied to. And I can't go there. To me, that's selling out. And so it's like, oh, okay, so I can't be in your club. Well, I don't think I want to be in it now. Knowing what I know now, I go, no, I can just be here and be on be on whatever platform I'm on. Right?
Right.
Because there's nothing better than this. I mean, look, okay, first of all, look where the media lost their power when this happened. What we're doing right now, people believe this way more, and they're way more acclimated to watching this kind of show than they are of what's presented on national television. And they are losing numbers. They're losing advertising dollars. The news outlets are on the internet. We're all going to digital in terms of where we're at. And so, and it allowed people to create without the gate. They are gatekeepers. They are only going to greenlight what they want people to watch and what they want to condition society with. If you write or say something that's going to jolt that, they're not going to open the door for you. And I really firmly believe it. But now we don't have to wait for them as long as we don't get shut down by the internet of speaking. And, that's the part that's the most disconcerting, is because we have been shut down, because Twitter even blocked the New York Post when it was reporting about Hunter Biden's laptop before the election. So social media and this media has interfered with information. Yeah. And so, and if you don't pay attention to it, everybody's talking about this I've done shows on it, this Will Smith, Chris Rock slap. And, and the sentiment that gets me of the most about it is the person who says, oh, he was just defending his woman. That bothers me. Yeah. So he's going to do an act of violence and slap a comedian in the face for a joke. Even if he found it offensive, he could have went off stage and carried it, or he could have said it in his acceptance speech. He could have tweeted about how insulted he was later on. It would have had a lot bigger impact than walking up and slapping him in the face. Not okay. Right. That argument. And then you hear the one about, well, comedians are just mean and they're bullies. And, and so we should, they kind of deserve to be smacked. And that's, hey, you know what? Dave Chappelle's next. And that's the part that is makes me really uncomfortable because unless Will Smith did get some sort of penalty, I think I was going to give people the opportunity to go, well, you know what, if I don't like what they say, if I feel that they've insulted, even though I've heckled them and disturbed their show, if they say something I don't like, I can go up slapping them in the face. And and when you get to that level, then you're getting into a cancel culture, free speech kind of arena. And stand-up comedy is there's 3 American art forms that came out of the United States. One of them is the American musical. Okay, we were the first to do musicals. There were musical vignettes before that, but we were the first with Oklahoma. Oklahoma's the first musical. Jazz music came from the United States, and stand-up comedy started here first. Out of where it was just a comedian and a microphone. That started in the United States. And we do have a free speech in the Constitution. And that's the one that scares me the most. Because if we can't be journalists, if we can't have free speech, if we can't express our ideas, even if our ideas don't agree with somebody else, and we can't be respectful in our dialogue about that, then we are a group of people with some serious problems, because the people who do control the conversation may not have our best interest. Yep. So we should probably stand up and say something about that. Yeah. And that's my argument. I'm going to get off my pedestal about it, but I just wanted to express that it's really I'm really concerned about. It was frightening to see people tweet things like, oh yeah, as if they were in the comic is a bad person and I need to go up and smack them in the face. I don't care if other people laugh at it. There is cruel comedy. There is a line. But my feeling is people got upset with Andrew Dice Clay. Oh, he's a misogynist. He's rude towards women. He was doing a character. The one joke that really got me the most was when he would talk about I did this to her and I did that to her and blah, 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 blah. And then the girl comes up and goes, all I really wanted was a hug. And he'd be like, well, you got the bonus plan, and I just thought that was so funny. That was so funny to me, because, well, you got the bonus plan, it wasn't like Andrew Dice Clay was that person. It was a character. He was doing a parody of somebody who did it. It wasn't to glorify them, but there were all these women that, and he was like, this was this big deal. Oh, shut him down. You know what? If you don't want to watch him, turn your freaking TV off. Don't buy the ticket, but let the people that want to hear it actually be able to go and see the performance. That's my thought about it. You don't want to do it, don't do it. But I could, so yeah. Anyway. Okay. I probably put us in like 8 people are left. We're like, come on, man. We get off the freaking, go back to, let's talk about reptilians again. All right, so I'm gonna end. This is practically I started at 1:30. It's the marathon. Again, if you do want to support my channel, I am at patreon.com/notmyrabbithole. Please, and if you can't support me that way, then just come be a part of my channel and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I plan on doing more shows with people. And because I do like having the grand conversation. I think that's what's important. So Nate, where can people find you? And where can people find you?
Yeah, I have a couple websites. I have ypxnews.com, where you can reach me at the contact me page. I have supersoldierforum.com. You can reach me there too. You can reach me at nateypxgray@me.com for email. And my album's information can be looked up at queenpoodle.com. Yeah,
Okay.
That's how you can reach me. And I have, you can, listen to my album, and that would help me a lot. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've listened to it and it's good. So, matter of fact, make sure that if you could give me that link again to your album, and then I will play it. Do you mind if I play one of your songs on one of my shows?
No problem.
Okay, all right, that'd be great. And Holly, where can you have your YouTube channel?
You can always find me on YouTube, but my email is hollybagleo11@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter, I can't even talk, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So you'll find me pretty easily if you're looking.
Fitter, that's kind of
Facebook and Twitter. Fitter.
Yeah, Fitter.
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and I have a Patreon too.
What's your Patreon?
YPX News.
And Philip Blair is here in the chat. Ricky Gervais was the GOAT. I love Ricky Gervais. Actually, he's actually, I'm going to admit it, he's one of my favorite. I just think he's funny. He makes me laugh. He's one of my favorite, and so is Louis Anderson. Was one of my favorite comedians. Philip said something like, some people think everything is fake. Yeah, I did a show about that. Were you there in the show? I did my last live stream was about whether or not it was real or fake. And I showed some footage of some wrestling guys that go through the footage and talk about it, analyze it. And yeah, they were talking about like how they were doing certain techniques and this and that for it. So it might, it might be fake. I mean, like Snoop Dogg came out and said he thought it was fake on the red carpet, or wasn't sure whether it was real or not. I talked to my mom about it, and the Academy, the producer, or the main person of the Academy or whatever, I think it was the producer, he thought it was fake when it really happened. He thought they were going to, come up and make it a bit. And that they did originally ask for Will Smith to leave. But yeah, I mean, when the producer's watching it and he thinks it's fake, then you wonder if it's, but I thought, well, is it fake because we have this suspended belief? Because I think Dick Shawn died on stage and had a heart attack, and people thought it was part of the act. They just went, oh yeah, he's supposed to fall down like that. And they go, oh no, that's not in the script. That's not in the script. And he died. So we just keep going along like it's part of it. And was it that? Or I think it doesn't look real to me. It looks like it doesn't like there's a slap. It looks like it's bigger than it should be. That, and like his head swinging back bigger than it should be. And I know with my comic friends, because I've watched. On my Facebook, if you want to join Facebook, I'm at Tere Joyce, TereJoyce. And also I have a Not My Rabbit Hole Facebook page. If you could like that too, if you want to follow me. But, I have 60% of my Facebook friends are comedians that I've known all over the years, and some I don't know, but I, know of them or whatever. And they, the things that they said, the concerns that they had, the big deal that it was, for them. And I don't know if I watched the Jimmy Dore show also. And, the things that some of the stuff I know is because of what he's covered on it and everybody's reaction to it. But my feeling is, I'm more like, I don't think this is real. And I don't see a whole lot of like my tribe, actually going, no, it's not real. But that's me. I'm like, no, this is not real. This is not, something's off here. And then I'm thinking, well, if it's pretend, if it wasn't real, then why is it happening? Like that's where I'm trying to figure it out. Like, okay, so if it's fake, then why is it fake? Why would something like that be dropped on us? Is it so we can have the conversation about free speech? So that maybe we will, reprimand ourselves rather than allow, the government to do it, or is it something where we need to be distracted by it because of like what's actually really happening with like maybe what's happening with Ukraine or something like that? Like, what would be the motivation to spill? Or, obviously they're making money off of it. Every single paper that talks about it, or every person that, whatever, is going to get something from even talking about the topic. But why now?
Well, next year, I'm going to be sure to watch because I'm going to be expecting it to be Jerry Springer. So I'll tune in next year.
Probably. I mean, it doesn't it feel like Jerry Springer? Like, honestly, yeah. I hate to say it, but a Trump rally looks like a Martin Downey Jr. show. It's like Wally George, or it almost feels Springer. I'm sorry. Don't tell me they're not on purpose placing the people to look like they do behind him to be doing what they're doing. Like, it's like such a show business thing. I'm like, what's happening right now? Hey, Mr. Reality Star. I mean, isn't the guy also an actor, comedian? He's a comedian. The president of the Ukraine's a comedian. What the fuck is going on in this world? Give me a fucking break. I'm sorry, I swore. Okay. Yeah, I've heard story. What's happening? Like, your president and, sit down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know enough. Maybe he's a great guy, but it's like, what are you going to slip on a banana peel? Oh, I got shot, but it's a joke. I'm dead, but I'm not dead. You think I'm dead, but I'm going to reappear on another timeline on another planet that you're connected to and you don't realize. I'm watching too much Netflix. Okay. Yeah. I've heard of horror stories. They've happened on stage that people thought were part of the act, like when someone gets accidentally stabbed by a real knife instead of a floppy prop knife. They're the volunteer campaign workers getting awarded with the good seats. Okay. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye, and not because I don't want to offend anybody, because I know that I'm doing a marathon show to support my my college fund, but I don't know why this song is. I've been into it, and it sounds like when I play it, it's going to sound like I'm a total materialist. But just enjoy, because I've just been kind of into it. It's called Money. By the Flying Lizards, of all people. Talk about lizards. Let's end the show.
Thank you for having me, Tere. And Nate, it was great to see you.
Great to see y'all too. And I have a YouTube show as well. I forgot to mention.
Okay.
Yeah, and I interview people as well as other content.
Okay, well, and where's your can you give the name? What's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's Nate YPX Gray.
Well, thank you for being here today, Nate. You've been here the whole show, and I appreciate that. And Holly, thank you for coming on. I you know what? I thought I should have sent you a link earlier today, and then you showed up, and so I thought, okay, well, let me ask if you wanted to come on.
I follow you anyway, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna say goodbye to both of you guys. Thank you, and then I'm going to try to get this. Where did it go? Get this song. Let's go with the alt. Well, you know what? Forget that song. I want to go to. I want to go to. I'm gonna be cheesy, and go with the traditional Matrix song.